Good evening. Good evening. This is Don Armando, Open Topics with the presenter of Open Topics with Don Armando. And today I'm just doing something different. I'm showing respect with my show to those that have served in the armed forces. I would have done it tomorrow, but that'll be going towards another stream that I have every Friday. So I'm just dedicating this today to all the veterans who are currently or who have served in the armed forces. Happy Veterans Day to everybody. Sorry for that. I had to mute the mic because of outside interference. So stay tuned. I actually, if anybody wants to join the panel, I got the link on the live chat. So therefore, we could actually talk about when did you first join the armed forces? What was the training like? And would you recommend it to young men in this country in this day and age? So I would like to listen to everybody's output on the military because I haven't joined the military. I would have wanted to when I was a young kid, but due to a lot of bad choices that I did in my life, I didn't. So my thing is that I respect anybody who has been in the military, and I just want to get your stories out. So that's what the purpose of this live stream is about tonight. I'm doing good, Kevin. Kevin C. How are you? How's everything in Honduras? All right, right here. Good evening, Kevin C. And happy Veterans Day to you too.
Oh, hey, pretty good, man. Pretty good. Hell yeah, that's right. It's Veterans Day tomorrow, November 11th, to 2022. But yeah, November 11th, Veterans Day. Were
Yeah,
you
man.
ever in the military?
No, I wasn't. But I do have family that were in the military.
Okay.
One cousin
Yeah.
in the
So
army, and one cousin I think he's I don't know if he's still in the military, but what is okay? I got a question. What is it? Yeah, I think he's on reserve if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, so you have the active duty military. That's the primary force, right? Then of course you have the National Guard, which is
Right.
like the secondary force, and they usually cover the states. So that's whenever there's a natural disaster, that's when you see it. Like they call it the Florida National Guard right now for that hurricane that's coming through Florida. So they get activated quite a bit, generally when there's a storm or a
Right.
flood or something like. And then you have the reservists. The reservists who are basically, they're not on active duty. They're not National Guard, but they're basically not third string, but they're third in the queue. Meaning that, so you have the primary, which is the active duty. You have the National Guard, which is like a backup, and they augment the active duty in times of high level conflict, and they also serve the state. They can also be called on, to go into action by the governor of the state. And then the reserve, they meet, I think, like maybe once or twice a year. They do maybe a couple of weeks, but they don't really, have like regular meetings. The National Guard, they have to show up at least once a month. So they do their reserve duty once a week,
All right.
once a weekend out of the month. So 12 months out of the year, they got to show up for a weekend. They call it weekend duty. That's what they call it. They go to where, and usually they live within like 100 to 150 miles of wherever their unit is located. So that's why you have people who go into the military. They don't want to be active military, but they want to serve. So they go. So National Guard is kind of part time, and that way they can, get to go into the military, get some of the benefits, not all the benefits, right? But they get quite a few benefits. They get the GI Bill. They get to go to school and stuff like that. Military pays for your education, and they get the health and dental benefits. Uh, and I guess it's limited on some basis. I don't know how it works. I've never been National Guard, but I know one of the big reasons for that is so people can serve in the military but stay close to home. So if you're from Texas, you gotta join up, or you go down to your recruiter, say, "Hey, look, there's a National Guard. You gotta kind of find it. You gotta find a unit and move to where that unit is." That's what a lot of people do, or they know the unit that's already there, so they'll say, "Hey, look, I want to join this unit. I want to join the military, but I don't want to be active duty. But I want to be in the National Guard." So they find a unit. They'll work it out with the recruiter. The recruiter says, "Hey, look, this unit needs this specific job duty here at this unit. Are you willing to go into training for that?" And that's what. So people just kind of, as long as you qualify, you certify, you pass all the tests, the mental examination, the entry examination, and then the physical examinations, and you get through your training, then you get assigned to that unit. The reserves do the same thing. It's similar, but like I said, they have like I think 2 weeks of reserve duty, and then even with and then I'll wrap this up real quick. Even with the National Guard and the reserve, you can be full time. You can be National Guard, but you can be on active duty full time in your area. So they have that too, meaning
All
that. So
right.
what they do is they have So they have people who work at the unit, right? So say you got 150 people in your unit, right?
Right.
There might be about 10 people who show
Okay.
up every day at that unit. They're on active duty, but they're National Guard. You see what I'm saying? And what they do is they keep the unit running. They handle all the administrative stuff,
Yeah.
the training, the documents, and everything else. And they set everything up for the weekends. So when everybody else comes in, so they're there the entire year. So they're a National Guard or reservists, but they're active. See how that works? And
All right.
understand, man. I
Yeah.
was in for like over
So,
a decade before I realized they did all of this. Yeah, yeah.
all right.
So Yeah. I was active duty the entire
Um,
time. I
while
never
you
had, I
was
never
in
took a break or
military
anything.
service.
Huh? Say again?
Oh, okay. When you was in okay. When you was in the military, Kevin C, how many
Uh,
tours did you do in your military career?
oh shoot, man, I gotta look it up. I think I got it here somewhere. What do you mean, like overseas? Man, I went overseas about so.
I mean, in general.
Uh, well, so I'll tell you this. So combat tours, I did 5 combat tours, right? So 5 combat tours. Those
All
are
right.
official combat tours, and then I got 3 or 4
All
unofficial
right.
combat tours. So you know what that means
Got you.
when I say unofficial?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's stuff that the United States military does in certain parts of the world, but it's not well known. And it's like they rate it.
Reported
So you
on.
have what's known as what you call it, high risk or high intensity conflict. That's basically an active war that's going on, which is like through Ukraine. You got an active war going on, Afghanistan, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq. That's high intensity conflict. And then you have levels of conflict that rate from low to medium, right? So
All right.
a lot of the unofficial conflicts were like low to medium level conflicts, but not high intensity. Like high
All right.
intensity, high risk. Like
Got you.
there's a good chance you got a really high chance of probably getting seriously injured or losing your life. In a low level conflict, there's lower risk, right? Medium level, you can still lose your life or get seriously injured, but there's not that much of a chance of it. So basically, there's places you can go in the world where
All right.
where you might not know about it because it doesn't make the news, but because it's a dangerous place to be, you get danger pay. I did that 3 or 4 times, interestingly enough. So yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, so I got I guess in all it's like 7 or 8. Well, I mean it's like almost 9 combat tours, but 5 official combat tours that's on my record, and then the other ones are on my record too, but they're kind of like what do you call it? I mean they're officially listed, but again it's low. One was low level, and the other 2 or 3 were like medium level conflict. So yeah, it's very interesting how they work that out. Yeah,
I hear you.
yeah. But you
So,
said you got some. So who's in your family is a
what?
veteran? Who in your family is a veteran?
Well, I have two first cousins who are veterans. One that
Oh,
did
okay, cool.
one that joined the army. I think he just did his 4 years. Um, my brother's wife, what I think she did like her mandatory service in the Air Force, if I'm not mistaken. That's two. And then I have another cousin that I don't know how many years that he had in the Marines, but he served in the Marines. And I have another cousin right that he actually served, I think in the National Guard, if I'm not mistaken, or Coast Guard.
Yeah, I think Latinos are the. So I know black people are pretty high as far as minorities in the military. It's a lot of men, some women, right? But when you
All
put us
right.
all together, I think we're like the highest
Right.
number of min. No, I think we're like the second highest. I want to say Latinos. You guys are the highest minority group in the military. There's a lot of you guys in. Everywhere you went, there was a dog. There's a Latino somewhere, man. It was like you guys are everywhere. So yeah, there was a Latino somewhere. There was a dog, no
I mean,
Latino. So
I guess we are
yeah, you guys, you're a pretty high. So I mean,
because
in the military, you guys are considered a minority, but yeah, you have a pretty high number of because I had when I was a drill instructor, I remember I had privates coming to me from Puerto Rico. They were coming from all over, but a lot of them came from Puerto Rico.
wow.
Yeah. They would, yeah, or they would,
Yeah.
or some. Now, there were some that had Spanish last names, but they didn't speak they spoke perfect English, not that much Spanish because they grew up in the United States. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I had,
Right.
I think, I think every unit I was in, there was, a good number of Latinos. More than there was usually always more Latinos than black people. So that's one thing I noticed. and especially the higher up you
Interesting.
go, there's yeah, there's more Hispanics than Black Americans, and very few Asians. Like you don't really see that many Asians in the military. You don't run across them that much. They're there though, but a lot of them do what they
Okay.
do and then they get on out. And there are very few of them. There's not that many Asians, high level Asian officers. You don't really see that many because remember they're already a small group anyway. So yeah. So I mean, it's
Right.
primarily white. So yeah. Um, um, so yeah, I mean that's kind of the breakdown. But yeah, I think you guys are the largest serving minority group. I would check that though. I mean, but I just remember seeing everywhere I went, there were Hispanics everywhere. And I work with different military,
Interesting.
services, Marines, the Air Force. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's generally primarily white, but like I said, I mean, I think you guys were next, and then followed by Black people, followed by Asians, and then of course we had like we had like people with Muslim names. They may have not been from the Middle East, but their family might have been.
Right.
So, and then the
Okay.
good thing, and they a lot of one of the things they liked about them was a lot of them actually spoke those languages, those Middle Eastern languages. But they grew up, they spoke
Yeah.
Middle Eastern languages, Arabic, Farsi, Persian Farsi, uh, even some of the Afghan languages. When we were, that was especially important coming up in Afghanistan. Like you have somebody who grew up in the United States but is a native
Yeah.
speaker of the languages. So yeah, so they
Yeah.
they like that. But
I've always heard
Afghanistan.
that
Hmm?
Kevin C. I've always heard that people in the military are like the fastest language learners. Is that true?
Yeah, they actually do pretty well. Well, they have a school out in California. It's out of Monterey, and I forget Defense Language Institute. That's what it's called, DLI, the Defense Language Institute, and they will spend anywhere from a year to a year and a half, sometimes 2 years, learning the language. And by the time they leave there, they are at least a lot. Most of them are pretty semi-fluent in the language because that's all you've been doing all day. Like you read the language, you write it, you study it, you speak. The way they do it, a lot of languages, if they'd send people there for like a summary course, they have summary courses. Like say you got to learn, you get ready to deploy someplace and you want to have like a few people in your unit who speak the language to the area that you're going to. They will send them out to DLI, and they might send them there for 3 or 6 months depending on what they're trying to do. Like, hey, I need this person to be able to speak Persian Farsi, at least be able to read the language, communicate, and stuff like that. They do that. But yeah, there's an entire. Are you out in California?
Oh no, I'm actually in Philadelphia, but I
Oh,
never
okay, all
been
right.
to California. But I would like to go one day.
Yeah, I've been out there. Actually, California is a pretty different.
I've
It's a
heard
different.
this.
It is a different state, man. It's an interesting state. But yeah,
Mm.
it's very spacious. It really is. It's like I noticed that with California, a lot of the other states seem kind of. It's because you got one city after the next, but California is super spread out because it's such a big state. Same thing with Texas. So California, Texas,
Wow.
when you get out to Arizona, New Mexico, those states seem a lot more spread out because the cities aren't right on top of each other. You got to drive like 5-6 hours to get to the next city. But yeah,
Wow.
the Monterey, California, that's where it is. Defense Language Institute. That's the short name. There's a whole longer the name for it, but that's what they call it. It's a language institute where they teach language. They teach a bunch of languages, and they use those people. They're used to you know message intercept. They sit there and listen to like foreign traffic and stuff like that. They use them as interpreters, and some of those people get really good. They put them out there like in the areas that they learned the language for, and usually after 3 to 4, maybe 5, 6 years, like they're fluent native speakers. Like I saw I saw a white guy speaking Chinese. It was one of the weirdest things. He was giving an interview and he was on TV speaking fluent Chinese, like it was his first language. Yeah, military uniform,
Wow.
military uniform. Yeah, he was really good. Like he didn't stumble, he didn't stutter. He was very fluid. I didn't understand what he was saying, but he was just very confident in the way that he spoke. I'm like, that's where he learned it. He learned. I know he had to go to DLI because he didn't grow up speaking Chinese, you know. But it was
Mm.
very good. I mean, he was in the military, obviously, so he went to DLI. He went out there, and then he operated in and around that environment. So they probably stationed him in Asia, where he had to learn the languages, and he kept him out there for years on end. And then he probably did message intercept work. So yeah, that was they call him some. They have a specific title for him, which I forget what they do. I forget what the title is, but that's the work. When they got messages coming in, they hear the information, they take it, they translate it, and then they print up reports and stuff like that. And that's not easy to do, man. It's not easy to do. You know what I'm saying? That'd be like
I
that'd be like me
see.
listening to a Spanish
So
speaker. I know a little bit of Spanish, but that'd be like me listening to a Spanish speaker and trying to interpret that, and then write it down, and then put it in an official report.
got you.
That's like, you got to be good. You're no slouch, man. And usually they come out of there with degrees too. That's how. So the training is so intense that I think you actually get a degree, a 2-year degree coming out of that school, depending on how, or at least you get college credits. By the way, I mean that's you literally. And some people they come out of there with at least a 2-year degree. It's like going to
Yep.
college. So yeah,
Nice.
so you get college credit. If you're there for 6 months, I mean, whatever, you get college credit for taking a foreign language, and then, like I said, some of that training lasts up to 2 years. So yeah, it's not easy stuff. So yeah, military is
So
good for things like that. They're good for trying to give people college credit for
I
the
hear
work that
you.
they've done in the military.
Hmm. So Kevin C, there's one question I have to ask you.
Mhm.
When you joined the military, did you join it out of personal obligation? Did you join it because you had family in the military, or you wanted to serve your country so bad?
So two reasons for me: economic and patriotism. That's what I boiled it down to. Because when I was a young man, and before I even graduated high school, right around when I was in like junior high, and I started going to spell between junior high and high school. I started becoming interested in the military. I started reading books about wars and stuff like that, and I was very interested in all those military movies. I don't know why I kind of gravitated towards that. Uh, but I mean, it's just something that kind of caught my interest. I really wanted to do something else, but since you got to find your calling, right? Find something
Right.
that you're good at, and then just stick with it. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go into the. So I was like, now what I didn't want to do was go to college right after I graduated high school. Um, I had enough of studying for 12 years. I was like, I'm not going to college right now. I'm just not really feeling it. Although I was good enough to go to college, I just didn't want to do it. And I probably could have been a decent student, but I probably would have been a great student. But at any rate, so I graduated high. Actually, I was in the military before. Well, I graduated high school. I was 17 years old when I went in, because you can go in at 17 as long as you turn. I think you got to turn 18 within like 6 months of joining, something like that. So I turned 18 while I was in, stayed in for a few years, and I could just continue to reenlist, reenlist, reenlist. But if I had to boil it down to two reasons, I would say economic, because I wanted some work to do. I needed to do some work, and I needed uh, to do something with my life. And I saw it as a temporary thing I could do for a little bit, and then maybe go to college later on. But I just stayed in, and but the other part of it too, I was like, I'm a patriot. Black people are, that we're pretty patriotic, man. We generally are.
I
A
know.
lot of people don't really see it, but there's because when you think about military history and then black participation going all the way back to the American Revolution, then yeah, you'll see where black people have and that's the other thing too. I learned that I was coming about. Oh, so there were black people, and you see black soldiers on TV. You saw and then during my studies, I saw black people during the Vietnam. I focused on the Vietnam conflict for some reason. When I was a young man, I was fascinated by it because we still had people who had just came out of it. So like all the other wars, you had to know a World War II veteran, right? They were around, but you had to know where to find them. But you could find a Vietnam veteran really easy. So you could just talk to them, right? Ask them questions, talk about the war and stuff like that. And I just got interested in it. And then I was like, oh, I'll go into the military. But yeah, so when you're a young man, there's 5 things you can do once you graduate high school. One of them is what? Go to college, go into the military, go to trade school, um, start a business if you have the capital to start a business, or just start working, right? So those are one of the
Yeah.
5 things you can do as a young man. So I picked the military. So like I chose the military option, and I didn't have any intent to stay there to stay in for years and years and years, but I just wound up staying in because it was I just kind of liked it. I was able to do a lot of things right up front, and then I just okay, well I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this next thing. I'm gonna do this next thing. I'm gonna do this next thing. Before you know it, man, 15 years have gone by. Then I say, oh, I'll just go ahead and stay 20 years. Oh, I'll just go ahead and stay another few more years. And yeah, I went in at 17 and didn't get out until 2017. So that was, by that
Wow.
point, I was over 3 decades at that point. Yeah, a lot of people
So
don't do that. That's kind of rare. You
mm,
don't you don't see that often. Most people are out at 20, 24,
okay.
25, 26. They don't. Very few people start getting up to like going past 24, 25 years. Very few because it's a lot. It takes a
Mhm.
toll on your body. It's stressful. It's dangerous work. And I knew it was time for me to get out because I was getting close to my retirement date anyway. So there's a thing where if you get to 32 years, you have to retire anyway, right?
I didn't know
So
that. That's
yeah,
something
there's
I
a there's a
that's
there's a
something
time limit.
I just know.
Yeah, so you got a 32-year time limit on you. Now you have to have made every rank, by the way. You got to be at a certain rank in order to, now depending on what's going on and depending on your position, you can be extended. Like for example, if there's a major, I know there were people that are probably planning on getting out when Afghanistan popped off, and they got extended for maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 or 3 years. They're like, hey, we can't let you out right now, stuff like that. Or depending on your position, you can request an extension. You can say, give me 2 more years. They'll let you stay, but you got to have a good reason for it. But they have mandatory retirement dates because they know that physically speaking, it's just very taxing on the body. So you can't do what you used to do. You can't physically perform, and you get tired. Your body's weak. You get a lot of injuries and stuff like that. So that's why that's in there. So it's like, look, you got to get out, man. You can't be 65 years old trying to be in the military. Otherwise, some people would probably stay as long as they could, man. I know there's some guys that would never get out. So yeah, but I got out at a good time. I mean, I
Okay.
do have injuries, but I look at it. I mean, I got what you call it injuries that I sustained over a long period of time based on wear and tear. But as far as combat injuries, I don't have any combat injuries. And man, dude, I got some stories, bro. What I used to do when I was in
I
combat, right? I used to track the number of
right.
times we got shot at, that somebody threw a rocket at somebody fired rockets at us. Uh, Anytime there was an IED or a damn mine in the road or some shit, anytime anything blew up around me or we got shot at. I mean, I had so much shit shot at me or shot at us, but they ain't trying to hit me particularly. Like I've only had people shooting directly at me only a few times, right? But like literally trying to hit me. But I mean, most of the time it's just like I call it proximity. Rockets they come in, you can hear it landing
All right.
in the area, and then when it gets really like when it's close, like you'll know you can tell when something's in a distance. Okay, rocket just came in, boom, and then when it's close, it's like boom, 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 like I'm like, oh shit, that's a prox. I call them proximity rounds, right? Because it's so damn close. Because like you don't know if that fucker's going to hit you, man. And if it hits you, then
All right.
again, you could be seriously injured or you just die right there. We've had people get killed. Like we've had rockets, incoming mortar rockets actually hit people, like They land on the ground, boom, killed them right there in
Wow.
the fire base. We've had that happen.
That.
Some civilians get
Mm.
killed too because they're over there with us. That's the other thing. You get even if you're a civilian, you're not safe because you're over there with us in the dangerous area, right? We've had civilians get killed. So yeah. People. So it's because
Yeah.
everybody over there in those dangerous areas is not military. The military has to do its job, but they need people to help them do their job. So they say, hey, look, we'll pay you
All right.
$150,000 if you go to this dangerous location for a year. Now, if you survive it, you get 150 grand, right? But if you don't, then somebody else getting that money. But or at least your family's getting the
Mm.
money, right? But yeah, well, you had civilians get killed.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, proximity rounds.
Wow. So
I
when
mean,
you,
I used to track that. How many times we got shot at. A lot of it was just small arms fire. I've had an unexploded. I got lucky one time. We were in the middle of a damn firefight and a damn an RPG round. So you know how they do the rocket. Have you seen the movies where they yell RPG? They put a shoulder on your rocket on the guy. The guy who's firing
yeah,
has a rocket. So basically, it's like a small rocket launch shoulder, right? You put a shoulder fired rocket, but it's a grenade coming out of there. We're in the middle of a damn gunfight, right?
all
And
right.
I was lucky, man. I was lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So the damn thing lands right between me and another. So we were in our vehicles. We kind of had cover, but we didn't know the damn rocket was coming in because we didn't hear it fire off. But it lands between the both of our vehicles, and we were outside, standing outside the vehicles, firing back, shooting, trying to suppress the enemy, right? Keep the enemy off of our asses. And we just got lucky. The damn thing didn't explode. That's it. We had no idea we
Nice.
even came in because there was so much noise and smoke and gunfire and everything else. And the only reason we even knew about it is because we had a combat journalist that was with us that day. On that day, they're not always with us, right? But a combat journalist is basically a combat reporter, but in the military, right? They do interviews, they take photos, they're there to record, military action, just kind of do stories and interviews on the soldiers, keeping it unclassified, right? And then, just take video. So we went back and looked at the damn video. A fucking rocket came in between me and another dude, man, or me and another vehicle, and it just kind of bounced. It's like, and we saw the damn, and it didn't explode. I'm like, wow, we got lucky on that. Sometimes you just get lucky, man. You just get lucky. Lucky on that, Sometimes,
Yep.
but yeah, just little interesting things
Mm.
like that.
I
But I
know.
mean, but a lot of the stuff that we did was classified at the time, and yeah, and I don't tell
Right.
too many stories. So because I don't even know because even when you get out of the military, they make you sign basically it's a non-disclosure agreement, right? NDA. You can't write books. You can't make speeches and do like tell certain details without clearance and authorization. So you don't. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff you got to go through. But I mean, guys get out and they write books,
I
or
understand.
somebody will come into an interview and they tell a story, and before you release it, I think you got to go. You got to go through. There's things you got to go through. You got to go through the Pentagon and the military. They got a whole thing where, like, you just can't write a book or do a documentary. You have to clear it through, like the military service that you're doing it about, plus the Pentagon. There's a whole bunch of. There's a lot of stuff. So I remember, just being told,
There's a lot
you're
of
like,
red
a lot.
tape.
Yeah, you know a lot of stuff, but you just can't go around and start telling all the stuff that you know, right? so
Right.
a lot of times I just don't even say anything, man, because I never really know what it is I'm supposed to say and not say, right?
Hey, I
So I
understand.
just, yeah. So you never really
Right.
know. So I just tell general stories like that little story I told you about the grenade, about the RPG being fired at us. That's not nothing classified about that, but it's just one of those interesting stories. We were at the fire base one time. We got in a gunfight, and
Right.
we were literally at the fire base. That was an interesting day because usually the enemy doesn't come that close to you, right? Like they had some balls that day. They came right up on us. Like so you have the main base. So in Afghanistan you have a main base, And then you leave the main base and then you go out to another base or an outpost where that's your fire base, but it's dangerous as hell out there, but it's relatively secure because usually the enemy don't fuck with it. You got to go out there and find them, and they don't really come fuck with you at the base. Well, that day they did. So we kind of got caught up that day, and I mean, we ain't caught with our pants down, but basically they caught us a little bit by surprise. And I remember we had dudes fighting. We put on our body armor, went to the damn walls and started firing over the walls. And basically we didn't have time to put on uniforms and stuff like that. We just, hey, grab your body armor, grab your weapons, get to your positions and start fighting. So we had dudes out there fighting in shorts and combat boots. Because on the fire base, that's what we wore, man. It was so damn hot. Like unless you went off the fire base, you didn't wear your uniform because out there in the desert heat, it's so freaking hot that if you put on a uniform, you just be sweating the whole damn time. So all we had on, and when you're on a fire base, all the guys would wear was your boots and shorts. That's it. No shirt, no nothing. Just all day long. Now obviously when you leave the base, you got to put on a uniform, all the other stuff and everything else. But when you're on the fire base, it was relatively secure. So all you have on is your boots and just your shorts, stuff like that. The only other time and there's times obviously, of course, you ain't wearing nothing when you shower and stuff like that. But I don't know who got caught in the shower while the enemy was shooting at us, but I'm sure they ended their shower when they got their body armor, got their rifle and pistol, and went to their position, shit like that. So that was another interesting little day. You see what I'm saying? So you get little weird days like that. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. You say you had a question for
Right.
me though?
So yeah, another question I got to ask. What would you tell young men in this day and age about joining the military, the and from your experience and everything like that? What would you tell that young man of his experience?
So I would present the military as one of the options that a young man could actually do at least temporarily or even start a career. For example, once you graduate high school, you turn 18. Like I said, I gave you those 5 options. You can either go to college, go to trade school, go into the military, you go to work right away, or you start a business, right? If somebody loans you money or you happen to have capital or whatever. All right. But if you're not interested in doing any one of those 4 other things, then the military is a good option because young men have to do something. You got to do something with your life. I understand maybe you graduate high school, you take like a year off and you kind of lounge around for a little bit, but you got to get off your behind and start doing something. But I recommend that young men start working right away so they can kind of get used to the work and the work schedule, the real world and how things working and all this other stuff. But I would say do the military if you're not interested in going to college or trade school because you're going to get training. You're probably going to come out of there with a trade, and you do your 3 or 4 years, or maybe 6 years that you're in, or maybe 8. You re-enlist maybe for another 3 or 4 years. You do maybe 6, 7, or 8 years, and then you get out. Now you have money that you saved up, and they're going to pay for you to go to college. It's another thing that you'll get, another benefit that you get. And then, you got the life experience and, some training behind you that you can use in a civilian career. And that's what most people do. Most people are in for like maybe, 4, 5, 6 years, 12 years, something like that. I think the average is like 12 or whatever. After that, they get on out. They use it as a stepping stone to start their life. And I've never really heard anybody say that the military was a bad, life decision. I've never heard anybody say that. They've always had something good to say about it, unless, of course, they did something to screw it up. But generally, most people is like, hey, my time in the military benefited me in this way. And it taught me a lot. I'll give the military that, when you hear me, kind of go back and forth on some of these panels, I learned some of that nonsense in the military, right? And I'm very detailed and particular, right? Have you noticed that?
Yes,
Yeah, that's where
yes,
that
I
comes
always
from.
do.
I'm always like, no, you got to
I
get to the,
mean,
and it's
I
not like
mean,
so when
whenever
somebody's
I
making.
see,
Uh-huh. Go ahead. What's
oh,
that?
okay,
Yeah,
yeah, think I might be having a little bit of feedback. So yeah, let me just
yeah. So when somebody's making a point, or I'm
mute it
talking to
for a
somebody.
little bit. Let me see.
Yeah. Not
All
only do I
right.
look at. Oh, okay. You there? Yeah. So not only do I listen to what they're talking about, but I try to understand the information behind the point that they're making. See what I'm saying? So I look at. I learned that big picture thinking in the military. That's why when somebody says something, I'm like, okay, yeah, but you're not giving the full details of it, or you're not looking at all aspects of it, or you left this part out. Like in my head, I can see the big when we're talking about a subject, I can see the big picture about a lot of things. So that and I learned that to think that way in the military. I mean, everything. I mean, it's very strict. It's very focused. It's very disciplined. Very regimented. All of that stuff. You learn. You got a lot of. You leave with a lot of information. So if you do it right, and remember, I went to all those military. I went to the military training for NCOs, non-commissioned officers at every level. So I did that all the way up from the lowest to the highest level. So I did all of that. I went to specialty schools. I was a drill instructor for a couple of years. Um, I was an instructor at one of the training schools. What else? I mean, between all of that, I did combat tours. So yeah, you do a lot, man. You do a lot. It's a wear and tear on your body, but it's very interesting work. But it's also dangerous work. And then there's times when it just sucks. That too. But it's
But
also
yeah,
dangerous work. That too. Okay. Is that me giving the feedback?
yeah. Oh no. I don't know if it's. I don't know because sometimes it's I could say it was my connection. So I don't know. Sometimes depending on where I'm at in the house, the connection is good, the connection is bad. So I don't know. I sometimes have these problems when I actually do streams at Don Jose. So I'm still new at this. So bear with me.
Yeah, I need to get mine together too. I wanna start doing my um I keep saying I'm gonna start my own channel. And I actually did sign up and do all the work as far as set up the channels. I got to get the live stream service because I want to do live streams too. But I'm going to primarily make videos and talk about history, Black history, Black history, Black
All
culture,
right.
Black issues. So that's what my channel's
Yeah,
going to
because
look
I was.
like. Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
for
I was actually talking to Radical.
yeah. Uh-huh. And you were planning on what? Go ahead. Don, you there, man?
All right. All right. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Is there any
All right.
feedback?
Uh, that's so I was like, okay.
Yeah,
I,
you're just breaking up a little.
I was
Yeah.
talking to Radical oh, all right. Let me check. Hmm. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, let me know when you get it. When you get.
All right. Do you hear me right now?
Oh yeah, you're coming in really clear now. You're coming in like on a scale of 1 to 5. You're like 5 by. Would you switch up?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like I'm still at least new to this. but I was talking to Radical, and he was saying the best thing to do, I guess, as far as doing a podcast or whatever, he was
Mm-hmm.
saying condenser mic, like say if you're in an environment that has a lot of noise. Apparently, that
Yeah.
is my case. And I was actually thinking about just getting soundproofing or something like that near my room, because
Yeah.
sometimes me being here in
Yeah.
Philadelphia, a lot of people like to play music.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Create like a small studio or something. Some people, I've seen where people, they have kind of like their area, their kind of shed area or something like that. They create a small studio in their house. They got like an area in the house that's soundproof. They
Yeah.
just already kind of set it up. And I haven't done that yet, not with my office. I don't know if I really need to, because we don't have a whole lot of real crazy noise out here. Every now and then we get workers through here and stuff like that, but for the most part,
All
it's
right.
relatively quiet. But yeah, but you also want to be able to stream from
Okay.
anywhere too. That's the other thing. So you kind of want to work out the technical issues so that way, when you go someplace else on a remote site, then you can you're gonna have some technical issues, but you want to like you don't want to get too much. If you're outside, you want to try to figure out how to get cut down on the wind, and then the outside noises like sirens and vehicles passing by, stuff like that. But yeah, most people try to kind of get themselves kind of like a nice little
Exactly.
studio set up or something. So, so you think about doing a podcast too? You think about so that podcast and a channel?
I mean, I'm trying to actually have my channel to do certain topics. Like for example, I have open topics,
Yeah.
and tomorrow I have something that is catering towards the Dominican urban movement.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to at least see which one could branch out, because the reason why I'm having like these two segments, I guess, on my channel right now is
Yeah.
because people in Dominican urban movement, we need to know the history of how each movement started. So therefore, when we could talk to the progenitors of those movements, so therefore they could give the youth on, or at least warn the youth about the pitfalls of the music industry. Like, make sure that your manager is correct. Make sure that you don't have to be in a situation that you don't have to just because of music money or whatever the case may be.
Exactly. Stuff
So
like that.
that's yeah, because if you, a lot of people are actually going into industries blind and they not knowing what the right path to take. And then the next thing you know, you might see a person that they get into a fist fight, or you might go in jail because that person didn't know the business of it. I've seen this happen and happen time and time and again.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but
So
it's good. I mean, it's good that more and more people are interested in starting something, and I don't know how productive some of the stuff is. I mean, one thing about black folks is that we got to do much better with our image, and there's been a lot of negativity put out about black people, and a lot of people just kind of believe the negative stereotypes versus actually doing the research. So that's one of the things I want to try to clear up. Obviously, you know about Kevin Samuels, so he was trying to do that. So that's something similar to what I'll be doing, but on a much smaller scale. And nobody's gonna blow up like Kevin Samuels. Nobody's gonna replace him, but we do need to get some voices out there. And and you can do the same thing just when you do
I
certain
mean,
topics that'll kind of help people understand,
yeah,
your group a little bit better. Well, because you like now, I think you said you
yeah.
now obviously you're Latino, right? But you said you're Latino and black, or what was your makeup?
I'm I'm okay. My ethnic makeup is Afro Latino, and
Yeah.
I'll say that because Both of my parents were from the Dominican Republic, but then on my mother's side, her parents came from St. Kitts.
Oh,
So
okay. Wow.
that
Yeah.
but then when I was on another panel and I was explaining that, I was getting called a traitor and all the other stuff. But
Well, you put
besides
you,
the point, it's like
well, you don't just take
it's
the
like
man.
right now, it's not even hatred. It's like ignorance. And the thing is though, I try to, like, on my platform, I try to at least dispel the ignorance, because when it comes to a lot of people that have served armed forces and everything,
Yeah.
you have certain people who actually support people serving the armed forces, and then you have a lot of people that actually have ignorant stereotypes about people in the armed forces. So, with my experience dealing with people who actually serve the armed forces, actually have been a lot pleasant. So my thing is that since certain people might have like a Hollywood image of a person serving the armed forces, I guess maybe because of watching Tom Cruise or other movies of the past, I just wanted to actually talk, since everybody's a veteran,
Yeah.
so everybody can have the point and see what is the real experience and the raw experience that everybody had to go through, because I know everybody had different experiences and different times during their servitude in the armed forces.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, it was a pretty good experience. I mean, like I said, there was moments where you can't go 30 years and not find any moments where things didn't go quite right or didn't suck. But for the most part, I learned a lot. I had a lot of experiences, traveled a lot, did a lot of things, did some cool things, did some things that were just really hard to do physically. But got a lot of professional development. Learned a lot about the world. Learned a lot about myself. I mean, it's just like I said, if you do it right and you internalize it and you really committed to it, then it's a real career and you come out a better person in the end. And that's why a lot of stuff doesn't really um, phase me to a certain extent. Like I see the world for what it is, because I've seen some of the worst parts of the world, man. I've seen some of the worst things in humanity. Some really, some things that are, it's not wasn't super disturbing, but I mean, it's like, oh man, this is the kind of stuff that happens. So yeah, the world, man, we do a lot of mean things to each other, man. Even still to this day, a lot of bad things. Uh, Humans are probably
I
we're
could
probably
imagine.
in a lot of ways we're worse than animals, and I'll tell you why. Because we have cognitive abilities, right? We can actually think about what it is we're doing. Animals do what they do because they're operating off of a feral state, right? Feral mind state. They do what they do instinctively because they're animals, and just animals just kind of behave the
All
way they
right.
behave. And it is survival of the fittest and all that other stuff and everything else. But we're not animals, we're humans, which means we can think about what it is we're doing. So when we misbehave, it's because we choose to misbehave. We mistreat other people, it's because we choose that. Not because we have to. It's like, that's what I choose. So yeah, that probably bothers me more about humans than anything else. Like, dude, you just really gonna just beat an ass? You're gonna really be an a-hole? Like when you don't have to be? Like, do you really need to do that?
Right.
And you know what? I get that we're gonna always have people that are like that, but I always look at it like, well, those people don't need to be in charge of anything. There are good leaders, there are benevolent leaders, but then you have people who are narcissists and a-holes, right? They don't need to be in charge of anything.
All right.
They need to be, I'm not saying we need to take them out, but they don't need to be in a position making decisions that are selfish towards other people and harmful to other people. They don't need to be doing that. And yet here we are, man. Like, I mean, like you
Right.
can look at Putin right now. He's being real damn selfish right now. He's being real selfish instead of
I,
trying to figure
I
out
mean,
how.
me personally,
Hmm?
to me, I don't know. I don't know, because as far as Putin and everything like that, I these this is historically about, I guess, that conflict is that I guess it might have been maybe in the making for like maybe hundreds or thousands of years if
Oh yeah, hundreds
if
of years.
I'm
They have
actually right.
they have several hundred
Because
years
I
of
know
history
that
where they
yeah,
go back and forth. You're right. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So Ukraine and
For the
remember at one
poll,
point parts of
I
Ukraine
like
were
to
actually
shout
part of
out my
Russia.
homie Angel.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cause I know for I know that when I'm reading about books about Russia and everything like that, that was
yeah.
actually there was like okay, you had the Khazarian Empire, and then you had people who were actually were called the Rus, and then they had their then it was czars until the communists came, and then they took what's now Ukraine. So certain people. So I guess we during those times, most Ukrainians who were actually living around that time, they speak the Ukrainian alongside with the Russian because there was under the USSR, if I believe. So now, from what
Mm,
I'm hearing and what certain people have actually communicated on social media, is that Putin wanted the old USSR about. So therefore, that's why he had that conflict before this conflict now with Crimea. So I'm not gonna say that I know that I'm too knowledgeable about it, but I know that there has been some differences over the years between Russia and Ukraine for a
yeah,
long time.
yeah. So it's an interesting thing. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
really.
a lot's going on, and at least we're not over there dealing with it, firsthand. But I mean, it does suck for them. But hey, it's over there in Europe. They need to figure that out. But yeah, he's trying to get more land, and I understand. He's trying to essentially reconstruct what was lost of the Soviet Empire to some extent, and he's trying to extend his borders and keep um, and use and put a buffer between him and the rest of some of these NATO-friendly countries. So that's the other thing. But in a lot of
Right.
ways, he's actually pushing the alliance closer together. If he didn't do anything, it would be less reason for NATO to do anything against him. But because he's doing something and he's over there in another country, I didn't think he was going to do it. And even when he did it, I didn't think it was going to last as long as it did. But here we are. They're almost they're getting close to a year on this thing. I think they're nine,
Yeah.
10 months into it. It's getting, yeah, billions of dollars has already been spent.
Well,
Billions of freaking dollars. But like,
yeah.
how long are they going to go with it? You know?
Hmm.
So yeah.
And I guess because of a Russian YouTuber that I actually watched today, he's actually based in Georgia, and
Mm-hmm.
he's actually talking about the experiences of people that have actually left Russia, and most of the stuff that he has to put like on his YouTube channel is because he doesn't want to get he doesn't want to get arrested in Russia. And if you
Mm-hmm.
have like an arrest record in Russia, you enter the European Union. And this guy wants to enter the European Union to live because Russia, I guess, right now, they're actually coming up with a lot of funny propaganda um songs and everything. And I don't even understand Russian, but just to hear this Russian guy actually explain and him explaining it just making me laugh, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
Russians are actually doing that. Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on over there. You're gonna see a lot of strange things come out of that conflict I mean they're already Russia's already been accused of doing a massacre. They call it the Bucha massacre. So that's one thing that's already happening. They're having trouble finding a lot of people, meaning that when somebody gets killed over there in combat or something like that, they're incinerating the. Well, it's alleged they're incinerating the bodies, and they're having trouble. They're sending groups out there to find these bodies, and they're having trouble doing that. So some of these people, I mean, you're never going to hear from them again. You're never going to see anything about them again. They just have to assume that they're missing. So they're going to have that problem. But Russia was doing
Right.
some lot of, you could argue that they were violating the rules of warfare too. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not there. I was very interested in it initially, and now I just get updates. I try not to keep it at the forefront of my mind because we got a lot of stuff going on over here, right?
Exactly.
Mm, yeah.
I
But hey,
mean,
huh?
all right. As a military, as a former military, or armed forces member, what is your take on the war drugs? And I know that you know a lot about it because
Oh
it
man,
actually involved armed forces as well.
yep, it certainly did.
Yeah.
Uh, so the war on drugs is ineffective. Basically, it's like uh, the war on drugs. You got a bathtub full of water, right? And you're taking water out of the tub,
Right.
trying to empty the tub instead of draining it properly and letting it drain. You're
Hmm.
taking water out of the tub while you still got the water running. That's the war on drugs. So while you're sitting out there fighting it and going against it and trying to interdict, shipments here and there, and and making sure that you're stopping the flow of it, there's more of it coming in, probably more than you can stop. Like it's that bad. It really is. I didn't realize the scope of it. I thought that we were actually doing something against the war on drugs, but no, no. And in a lot of ways, I'm not convinced that the United States government wants to completely shut it down because there is a low level financial benefit based on certain industries that have been propped up around it. And then on top of that, you had the Iran Contra scandal where you had the war, you had drugs that were being shipped in from Colombia into the United States and being dumped in black neighborhoods. You had crack cocaine that became an issue for black people at that time. The 80s and 90s, the 80s and the 1990s, 1980s, 1990s, going into the early 2000s, and then you had white people at that time using powder cocaine. So that's where all those laws came from. The three strikes law. Joe Biden actually came up with that. He's a damn president now. And yeah, but at any rate, that's my simile on the war on drugs. It's basically you got a bathtub full of water. You're draining the bathtub, but while you got the water running at the same time, and you're trying to actually drain the tub while water's still coming in there, and you're using like what do you call it, a small pot to do it. Like you got a pot in your hand, you're trying to dump the water out, but as soon as you dump it out, there's more water coming in. So you already got a tub full of water, right? You see my analogy? Does that make sense?
Yes, I see your analogy.
Yeah, and it's a never
Yes.
ending problem because even if whatever we get at, whatever we interdict, whatever we stop, there's more that you don't catch, and it's like you're literally putting a small dent in like a multi-billion-dollar, what is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. The interesting thing is that I don't really know anybody who uses hard drugs, man, and I've never used them myself. All right, no marijuana, no narcotics. I mean, I had when I had operations, right? You get temporary, for pain relief, and I used the bottle for the week, and
Right.
I I hate it so much, and I was so scared of getting an addiction that I would just be like, look, I'm gonna use what they give me, and I'm not gonna ask for anything more. I don't want any more. You see what I'm saying? Because I was
Right.
always concerned about that, like
Yeah.
because sometimes your body gets used to it, and your body needs it, and then stuff like that. If you were paying attention to Matthew Perry, that's how he got addicted to. I think it was he was doing alcohol, and then he was also doing what was that other thing, OxyContin, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Like I didn't know how bad it was. He was a functioning alcoholic. He was a functioning drug addict while he was on television. You know that guy who was on that show,
I've heard
Friends.
stories.
Yeah, he was a functioning alcoholic, a
That's
functioning drug
right.
addict. But yeah, the
Yeah.
war on drugs is. it was it's good. I see it as ineffective because so many bad things came out of it, and especially for black people. I know they say black and brown, but black people got hit the hardest with that war on drugs. There are people still sitting in jail today based off that three strikes law that Joe Biden put together in 1994. And black men got hit the hardest with that, like disproportionately. And I'll tell you something else too about the war about drugs, man. Did you know that white people use drugs more than anybody else? Did you know that? Well, let me put it to you this way: white and black people use drugs
Yeah.
at about the same rate. Meaning, and actually, white people use drugs a little bit more. Not only do they use drugs a little bit more, they sell it a little bit more than black people. But you know who's in jail based on drugs?
Well, when I actually first came to when, yeah, when I actually first came to Philadelphia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I'm from the Bronx, so therefore, you see your pookies and your um jukies or whatever the heck may be, one or two Hispanic drug addict, right? And that was my hood. You just don't really talk to them. You just pass by and everything. So when I came out to Philadelphia, like in late 2016, early 2017, and I was just waiting for my first day at work at my new job at the time. I was surprised at one neighborhood, which is called Kensington. That actually
Uh-huh.
looked like a scene from The Walking Dead. And
Oh
remind you, this
wow.
area I'm talking about, like around from 2017 to 2019. They just stayed at the area. They didn't really go towards Upple. They didn't go and sleep around where they were at and everything like that. You might have seen maybe one or two, but that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, come 2020, you've seen a whole bunch of people in the pandemic until now. You see a lot of people actually sleeping around in anywhere they can find. You actually see people sleeping outside of stores. You actually see people sleeping in the street when it's a hot day. And sometimes you have certain people that will just curse at you just because you're just trying to go to work and you're not trying to give them you're not really trying to help their addiction. So that's how
Yes,
it is out
absolutely.
here. I mean, I guess it's all over the United States, but it's like it's to the point that you see a lot of unspent needles every time. So
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I always wonder about all. I mean, I know it affects a lot of people, so I try to look. I try to just focus on my immediate family, and I know that I don't know anybody in my family who's on anything or had any like major bad experiences. But I know it's all around us, though, man. I know it's all around us. We got people who are, they're strung out right now. They're from somebody's family, and they're having a hard time dealing with it or helping this person. And once they get on it, it's hard to get away from it. But again, the United States is not doing enough to stop it. And I suspect that if they really wanted to stop a lot of it, they could. Remember, and then the other things too is with this what we got going on right now. It's not just people that are coming, to the United States. There's drugs too coming in, so we got that problem. Yeah, and then a lot of those drugs are going to wind up in black. That's the other thing too. Then the side effect of that, a lot of those drugs are going to wind up in black neighborhoods, and depending on the type of drugs that's being sold and distributed throughout the country, then of course it's going to affect white people too. But like I said, black people are going to get punished more. Like again, there are people still sitting in jail to this day based off that 1994 drug laws and the crime bill, and it's yeah. Whereas
Yes.
yeah, so 6 times more likely black men are 6 times more likely to get arrested for the same offense that a white man can get away with. There's unequal application of the law, so black people are punished more
Right.
severely. Everybody, a lot of other people are getting away with it, and that's fucked up. So you got black again, black men sitting in jail, and then followed by
Yeah, it
Hispanic men,
is.
followed by white men, and there's only fewer white men because they a lot of times they don't even get arrested, but black men gonna get arrested, for using and selling drugs if they catch you out there doing
Mm-hmm.
it. So that's why I always tell young men, don't get caught up in the system. No drugs, no alcohol, no tobacco. Watch out for these women. Guard protect your sperm so you don't get sperm jacked. Like, this is the shit that young men have to think about, and especially young black men. I always try to do things from a black perspective, which is why, in a lot of ways, I have more knowledge on certain things than other people. I know everybody thinks they're smart, and I get it, and they are smart in their own way. But what I found out, man, a lot of people don't know. They don't know anything about black people, and white people especially. They do not know anything
I
about
mean, they
black
really
people.
don't. It's like it's to the point that, like, in some of the panels, and I have a lot of I could say knowledge about people in the world whatsoever. I'm not going to go and try to say I have total knowledge because I don't, but I know
Yeah,
that certain people have certain customs, right? So there's
yeah,
an ignorant, I guess, commenter in these posts that always they're always so sure about or say stuff like, "Oh, I want to be with this class of people," or whatsoever the case may be.
hmm
Or whenever you actually speak, they're always trying to criticize you. When the fact is, you actually have more knowledge and experience than some of the people in the panel. I could actually say that.
yeah, yeah. I can see where you might be able to say that. So yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been on some interesting. I've had some interesting online discussions. Every now and then I don't get into too many discussions. So what I'll do is I'll leave something in the comments, or I just won't comment at all. Just maybe get a video I like. But there are sometimes I just pass right through stuff like actually I think Denise Latin she did a show today. I want to say I think I saw the notification. I didn't watch the show. I might watch it later on, and then maybe throw some comments
I might too.
in the comment stream. Yeah, she's very interested in that. She's right. She's right on a lot of stuff, but there's a lot that she's wrong about though. That so I know you see when we disagree on stuff because she'll leave out details or she'll dismiss. Like I hate it when people dismiss the basic facts of everything. Like for example, Hispanics and black people actually do have a lot of the same problems. We really do. All right, we can argue about who has the worst problems and all the other stuff and everything else, but and there's a lot of parallels between black and Hispanic history. You know, the same stuff that was happening to black people in the United States was the same stuff that they were doing that the United States was doing in Puerto Rico, and the same stuff that they did to the dark skinned Puerto Ricans when they came over here, right? When they came to the United States, and I can relate to that, right? And I understand it,
Right.
yeah. But some people will
Right.
dismiss it, and who was it? Denise said the other day. She said, black people and Hispanics are killing each other because we don't love each other. That's not true. And I was trying to explain why that's not true. But you get it's not
No, it's like
it's not as simple as that. It's
what,
just it,
what a
it's
lot
it,
of
you
people
gotta.
don't understand
Huh?
about that is that
Hmm.
why most of the stuff, I guess, crimes, I mean murders that might actually happen,
Yeah.
or unliving situations that happen, is because of love. It's because of the love of the family. It's because you're defending somebody that you feel that is wrong, and the law is not going to do that. So you might have to take justice in your own hands. So it's actually
So
because of love. And I
yeah.
mean that because of my 39 years of life, what I've seen over the years.
There's actually a name for that. They call it legal cynicism. Did you know that? I mean, what you
I did
just
not
said
know that.
that
I'm learning
is that the
something
law
new
is that
right
there's a
now.
system in place that's supposed to punish people who do bad things, but then the people who are supposed to help you clear up, people who are criminals and bad actors and who run around harming other people. The people who are supposed to do that, everybody from the police to the judges to even attorneys and district attorneys, They don't always do what they're supposed to do. All right. And you can't trust them to do the right thing all the time, especially at the law enforcement level. And then you have an entire system that we spend billions of dollars
Right.
on keeping operational, and it's a racially biased, unfair, unjust, and discriminatory system that disproportionately punishes black men,
Um,
and
have another
in a
person
lot of
there.
ways for no good damn reason, just because we're black.
Did we
So
lose you?
yeah, so I look at it like, and that's what I'm saying. So when we say, black men are killing each other or Hispanic men are killing each other, what we can't do is dismiss the reasons how they got that way. Now, we don't approve of that behavior. We don't support it. We wish they didn't do it. But you got to attack the reasons as why they're doing it. And in order to actually, you have to understand why they're doing it. And that's how you fix the problem. You just can't go, hey, you guys suck. Y'all are shooting each other. Yeah, we know it sucks. We know it's bad. Now, why the fuck are they doing it? Oh, and people will be like, I don't care why they're doing it. They just need to stop doing it. Why are they doing it though? People don't Hispanic. Your
Yeah, I
Latino
know.
brothers don't wake up and be like, oh, I just need to kill me another Hispanic today. They don't do that. Black men don't wake up and go, I need to kill another black man today. No. What caused that? And if you look at a lot of the reasons why they're behaving that way, there's systemic issues in place that facilitate those conditions. You remove those conditions, you correct that, then that stuff goes away. The issue is that you literally have a government, United States government, that will either create the problem or facilitate the problem in some way, or see the problem and then refuse to correct it and just let it continue to fester. We've been talking about black men
Yeah,
killing each other for how many decades, right? How many decades have we been talking about that?
4 decades. Let's be honest.
Right. At least 3 or 4, right? Because
4 or
again,
5 decades.
keep in mind, coming out of the 1960s and before, there was always been crime, but crime was always either under control and very low level, and it was relative stability. It was actually good stability in a lot of black areas, and crime was relatively low. There's always been crime, but it's relatively low. 40, 50 years ago, you didn't have nobody running around talking about black on black crime or black men are killing each other. So now you got to ask, what the hell happened? Well, the war on drugs is one of the issues. You had you had literally the United States government or the CIA authorized by the United States government to bring in drugs from Central and South America, dump them in black neighborhoods, use that money that was generated from putting those drugs in black neighborhoods to actually fund an illegal war in Central and South America. All right. So and then out of that comes the crack epidemic, right? And that further solidifies and actually intensifies the war on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got these crack people all over the place. They're running around getting cracked up, like you said, zombies, right? And then on top of that, now within the construct of that, or the construct of that situation, you also have an increased violence, increased crime, increased anything that's bad, it increases. All right. So all of that stuff plays into the United States government actually facilitating the conditions that led and still lead to why those men are killing each other. So instead of actually looking at that and looking at the big picture, we just go, oh, you guys need to stop it. I'm not excusing the behavior. I'm explaining the behavior, and I'm trying to actually, do a deeper dive and understand the root causes. And that's what gets overlooked. That's why when somebody goes, hey, I don't want to hear about the reasons and the history and stuff like that. No, you got to hear the history. You have to understand it, and you have to look at the big picture and how and why things got that way. I can literally explain why, folks are crossing the border from leaving Latin America, right, and crossing the border into the United States, risking their lives to cross the border. I understand why they're doing it. I don't like that they're doing it. I don't like that they're risking their lives, and trying to, and linking up with these cartels and, paying out. How many thousands of dollars people are paying for safe passage through these cartels? They're making billions of dollars right now doing that. It's crazy. They're making billions of dollars. It's a very dangerous journey.
Human
I
trafficking.
would love, if people could, didn't feel like they needed to do that. But that's what they're doing. They're paying anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 or $20,000. Sometimes, I mean, like that's a lot of damn money. These cartels are making money hand over fist. They're already selling drugs on the street,
Yeah.
legal drugs. Then they're getting money from people who are desperate to get into the United States, and they're taking advantage of them. And then how many people don't even make it to the United States? By the way, how many of those young girls are actually siphoned off and put
Because
into
of
trafficking?
environmental issues or other reasons.
Well, it's
Yeah, it's
environmental
very
issues.
sad.
It's part of the destabilization and a whole bunch of other stuff and everything else. So I try to give them some latitude and grace because I understand the issues and problems and why they're doing what they're doing. So I try not to blame them for their behavior, but at the same time, I look at it as I shouldn't excuse it either. I gotta be realistic about why people are doing what they're doing. So when I hear somebody go, "Oh well, you guys should stop shooting each other," I'm like, "Yeah, we would. If I could wave a magic wand and just stop dudes from doing that kind of shit, I would stop it. We all would stop it." Jose's up. I'll go ahead and stop. I
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah.
How's everyone
Jose.
tonight?
Hey, how you doing, Jose?
Good evening.
You heard what we were talking about?
No. I just finished up a strain I just did. The topic was how to keep your spirit going when you're going through trials and tribulations.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Right.
That's a good
I
topic.
caught a little bit of that before I actually started my stream.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your general advice you came out with that? Because it's
So
people are going through stuff right now and it's not easy. What was your general advice?
Okay. Well, first of all, the main thing is try to keep calm, okay? Because we can get very emotional when we're going through these trials and tribulations. Number one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Number two, try to be mindful of, other times that you overcome trials and tribulations. And also be mindful that there's going to be certain people that's not going to share your vision. And you cannot let people who don't share your vision stop you. And then I just use some of my own personal anecdotes, things that happened in my life, how I was able to overcome those things by keeping focused, by keeping calm, being mindful that these trials and tribulations are permanent. So if you have a chance, if you can, look at it on the playback, it's about an hour long. And actually, in the beginning, there was this 10-minute regarding motivation. What I love about it is that the speaker stated, not give up. I define winning is achieving your goals.
Good. All good points. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You just caught the tail end of what we were talking about. Yeah, we were just talking about some military stuff.
There's been so much stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh yes, that's right. Tomorrow's Veterans Day. Tomorrow's the Veterans Day. First of all, a shout out to all those who serve in the military. A shout out to the family of those people who shed their blood and paid the ultimate sacrifice for us to express our point of view.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, I got you back.
So
and one thing I have to say for everybody.
So
bow our heads for those who actually made the ultimate sacrifice for us to actually have our freedoms today. Let's just have 1 second.
Kevin C, have you recovered from yesterday's tree?
Oh yeah, I'd be okay. So yeah, I'm actually pretty good with the conversation and the discussion, and it's usually very productive. It's just I don't know. Denise has a different. She has an interesting way of thinking that she'll miss the forest for the trees, and even when you clear it up, she'll just kind of like stay on a point. That I'm like, just okay. So I explained that, or do you just not understand it? Not only that, a lot of times I'll go back and clear it up in a video, and there are sometimes when she'll make a statement, I'll just answer her directly. So I don't get how she just doesn't understand some stuff. I will say this: there are sometimes I say things and it's not clear, and you can misunderstand it. I will admit to that. But I mean, just clear it up. Like it just ask for a clarification. But yeah, I mean, we don't. It's not. I mean, we don't go too hard, but I mean, it's just.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sometimes there's misunderstandings. So that's it. So, but I know what it is I'm talking about because I know the information. I know the policies. I know the studies. I know the history. I know the laws. If I don't know something, if I don't know about something, I will sit back and listen to somebody else explain it and be like, oh, okay, because they're usually going to say something that I can relate to. But yeah, she has a different way of thinking about things, and that points to the difference between men and women. That really does. They relate things differently, so they hear things differently, and and I don't know if you just explain something to me and then I get the clarification, I'm good with it. I'm like, oh, okay, I misunderstood what you said, but man, she was harping in on that whole. she, yes, man, she was harping in on that. I'm like, what are you talking about? Kissing the ring and all this stuff. Like, relax. Yeah, that would be my only thing is that people have to understand that. So I'll go ahead and say this real quick.
I'm not. Yeah.
So black people have an interesting history in the United States of getting screwed over, like for 400 plus years, man, 400 plus years, and it's been by every group, every group. Now, obviously, most white people have created the most problems for black people, right? We have to admit to that, and it's the white-led, U.S. government. I don't blame the people; I blame the government because the government controls everything. So when you have corrupt leaders in the government, you're going to get problems. All right. And then, we had a time where people forget in the 1960s, 1970s, everybody knows about the Vietnam conflict, right? So after that, all those Asians that got evacuated, the Vietnamese, they got evacuated coming out of that war. And there were some other Asians that came over at the same time too. But yeah, a lot of those folks went to black neighborhoods, man. That's where they went. They went in the black neighborhoods. So black people thought we had good alliances and good relationships with Asians. Turns out we don't. turns out we don't, man. They got their money. They got, a lot of benefits off of black people. And they're like, oh, hey, we got our money up. You guys, we see you guys later. So black people are like, hey, what the hell happened? Like, I thought we were working this together. No. I got what I needed and I'm out, man. And Denise did actually make a good point. During the civil rights movement, there's nothing that Hispanics did that was negative towards black people. But the only problem that I would say is there's recent incidents and we know it's not all, like you always say, Jose, it's not everybody, right? We understand it's not the entire group. Everybody has, you say, what is it? Good apples, bad apples, right? What's that thing you say?
Yeah.
Good apples, bad apples, right? Good apples in each group, bad
apples. And the point I was making in the backstage.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. And the point I was trying to make in the backstage is, okay, it's possible that you have negative experiences by certain ethnic groups. That's us.
Yeah,
That's us.
yeah,
That's us called. And what you experiencing through can be valid.
yeah,
However, because you have certain negative experiences with negative, you know, negative those experiences with Latinos, and as I stated, yes, there's some. Let's keep it clear. Let's keep it real. We have some ignorant jackasses, but not all of us are like that. And for them to do call out those people.
yeah. Yeah, and then yeah, they get called out, they get removed. Like we try to do the same thing with our black people in our group who are like really screwing things up. I call them agent provocateurs, they're saboteurs, they're collaborators with some other people who are bad people. Like we and we don't support that. But I mean, the thing is that my point, and this is why black people have a hard time trusting everybody. Like I said, even today, right now, the LBGT folks, they're getting benefits and privileges and wealth and employment opportunities and resources. They got black people working with them as a part of that LBGT movement. They don't get any of it. You literally have LBGT black folks living out on the street who are homeless. Some of them actually have to turn to sex work in order to survive. Like, how is that happening if all of them are working together towards the same goal? You see what I'm saying?
I mean, I could tell you
Yeah.
how it could happen, and I'm just saying from a crux of it and everything like that, because within those movements, right? I'm just saying because of documentaries and people that I've looked into, is
Yeah.
that within some of these movements, it's not, you know, talking about LGBT people and people of different ethnicities, right?
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of people be like, okay, yeah, we're rallying for rights and everything like that. But then you might have like another person of that power base within that power base that be like, okay, now since we got our rights and everything like that, we're gonna distribute it on who we don't like. And that's where all the problems begin,
Yeah.
believe it or
Well,
not.
yeah, and the other part of that too is like I say,
Well, I meant to
if
say is
yeah,
favoritism.
so the
Well, I
LBGT
meant to say
movement is
is
all completely
favoritism within those movements.
yeah, exactly. That's the other part of it too. But like I say, with the LBGT movement, like right now today, that encompasses all. So there's gay people in all the races: white, black, Hispanic, Asian, even Arab, Middle Eastern, all of that stuff. So if all of them are getting benefits, then that means all the black people should get benefits too. But I literally have seen examples. I've read the articles. I've listened to people. I've talked to them online, a few other things and all this other stuff where they're talking about, well, we did this, we did this, we did this, and we're still out here on the street, or they got to resort to sex work just to actually survive. And that's not right. It's again, like I say, if you link up with somebody and you're part of an alliance, then you may have 4 goals that you're trying to shoot for. You may only get 2, but you got to at least come away with something. And I hate to say it, man, but there's been like 160 plus year history of black people aligning with other groups and then getting screwed over. So it's difficult for black people to trust other people, even if they're coming in good faith. It's like everybody wants us as a group to just kind of trust you and believe everything, and you do have to go off people's history and what they've done either recently and in the past. And in the and in the past, I hate to say it, man, but hey, oh okay, yeah, Milana's on the line. Yeah, but in the past, man, white people have been the biggest offenders. Like a lot of our issues that we have goes between it's not between yeah, we have issues with other groups, but it's really from between black people and white people. That's it. That's the majority of our issues. The reparations issue is an issue between black people and white people, and between black people and the white-led U.S. government. That's our issue that we got to deal with. And they've been fighting against that since 1865. You know, Jim Crow racism. Nobody else came up with that. White people came up with that. Even like I'll give you another example of something that black people actually fought to get for them. Yeah, it was supposed to exclusively benefit black people. So we all know about 100 plus years of Jim Crow racism coming out of enslavement, right? 1865 all the way to 1964, right? That was a period of Jim Crow racism, where black people were denied economic opportunities, educational opportunities, healthcare, quality of life. A lot of them were put in prison. They were targeted disproportionately under convict leasing programs, mistreated, abused, cities burned down, destroyed or near destroyed to the ground. I mean, all kinds of bad things happened. One thing that black people should have got out of the civil rights movement was affirmative action. That was supposed to help black people. You know what percent of affirmative action programs actually go to black people? You know what percent goes to black people? You guys have any idea?
No.
It's 10%. So a program that was written by the United States government to make up for 100 plus years of Jim Crow racism, that was written exclusively to benefit black Americans, black men primarily, but black Americans, black men and women, but again, black men primarily. Black people only get 10% of that benefit. 90% of that affirmative action programs go to other racial groups. I know the breakdown. You know who the biggest beneficiary is of affirmative action and gender? By race and gender, you know the biggest beneficiary? You know who gets the most program, the most benefit out of affirmative action? It's white women. Yeah, it's white women. White women benefit from affirmative action more than any other racial group and gender. Affirmative action is a program written for black people. So how the hell are white women benefiting? Because the United States government changed the wording to start referencing white women as a minority. And because they're now designated as a minority, they benefit from a program that's supposed to benefit only black people. All right, now I'll be honest with you. Black people probably wouldn't have any issue splitting up the program between, Hispanics and Asians, right? Because you guys are minorities. When the hell were white women minorities in America? They benefited from whatever white men benefited from. They benefited from that too the entire time, right? When did they suffer from Jim Crow racism? When?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's my whole point. They never did.
True.
But yet they are the biggest beneficiaries of a program that's designed to help black Americans. So white women benefit, so you got 100% of the, say you got all these benefits on an affirmative action. About almost 60% of it goes to white women. About 20% of it goes to Hispanics, by the way. So you guys get about 20% of it. A little over 20%, I think it's like 23 or 24%, goes to Asians. And then you got other minority groups in between. Black Americans get only 10% of a program that was designed to benefit them exclusively. So that's why black people don't trust anything when the government says, we're here to help you. Like, motherfucker, you ain't. Like this, it's like you can't cheat people out of something they're supposed to get. And I'm not saying black people shouldn't share or shouldn't be willing to split it between other minorities. But how did white women get on the program? It's because they wrote it so that way they put the wording in so that way white women could be included when they should have never been included in the first place. And everybody thinks that black Americans are the only ones benefiting from affirmative action. Every racial group benefits from affirmative action. Not only that, if you're gay or if you're LGBT or from alternative lifestyle, if you're disabled, you benefit from affirmative action. Like everybody falls under affirmative action. So what they did over the years, right after they started it, is they started, giving up all these benefits to everybody else. I would say that if a program is written for black Americans, they should get at least maybe at least 55 to 60% of the benefits. You can split it up between other people. I don't mind that. And I don't think black people would say anything, but you can't write a program to benefit black people and then say, hell, you guys only get 10% of it. That's fucked up. I don't think people even know that. And when people, hey Mulata, how you doing? Yeah. So that's why it's hard for black people to trust anything that the government says, anything that anybody says to them, anything that anybody proposes, it's very difficult because like black people have a history of getting screwed over and mistreated and cheated. You know, like and I'll mention Nuri Martinez. And now we know Nuri Martinez. You got the whole situation out in California where they were call that little kid names, and then they were literally strategizing to cut out.
Hop off, and I'm going to try to get onto another
They were
device because I'm having some technical difficulties on my end.
Okay, yeah, no problem. If you hear,
All right.
Yeah, but so they were it was 3 or 4 people. They were Latinos. They were plotting and planning to cut black people out of their fair share of resources from the LA County, whatever it is they do, right? They were saying, look, we're gonna make sure we get everything. We're not gonna let the black people get anything. That's fucked up. Now we know Nuri Martinez does not represent all Latinos. I'm not gonna blame you for what she does, right? I'm not gonna blame. I'm not gonna say, well, Hispanic. I'm not gonna say Latinos are racist. I'm not gonna say that. But God damn it, that woman is in charge. She's in a position of power and authority. Her and the people that she was working with, and they were plotting and planning and strategizing to literally steal resources that was supposed to go to black people and give it to Hispanics. So when we say it's difficult to trust,
yeah, I mean, if you actually look at it, right, and I'm just going to talk about my
So you see what I'm saying, man? That's where that comes from. It's not that we don't want to work with people. It's difficult to trust it. Does that make sense, bro?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, that's not me complaining.
I'm just giving about
that's not me complaining. I'm not whining. I'm just giving a status report. I'm just like, these are the things that happen.
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you what I've seen. And certain people may not agree with what I'm about to say next, but it's like it is what it is. You have certain people within the Hispanic collective, right?
Yeah.
We have certain people who were cool, and it was like, okay, now Hispanidad, right?
Yeah.
But then you have certain inter people that they do not like each other for whatever reason. But a lot of people, but a lot of that doesn't get exposed within the media. So therefore, when a person that don't know about Latin America or anything like that, they'll act everybody as one. When the fact is, they don't even know the geography of Latin America, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so that's it took me a long time to really understand what was going on in Latin America and how it came to be and why it is the way that it is and the dynamics of it. But part of it is because I do research and I study, but the other part of it too is I moved in and around a lot of those Latin American countries. I've been to almost every country in Latin America with the exception. I haven't been to Argentina. I hadn't been there. And yes, they are pretty racist toward black people down there, by the way. I'll tell you something else too. That's another country. So Argentina. So you know about the Blanqueamiento, right? That happened during there was a period in Latin America where all the countries did this whole thing where it was called the whitening, right? You remember that period, right? You've heard of that, right? Dominican Republic. Oh, he fell off.
Yeah. Maybe he's having technical issues as well because I have to get off my my laptop. I'm using my smartphone.
Okay.
So but I hear what you're saying. But my point is this, and it's easier said than done. I mean, at least if you're going to have interaction with a different group, I mean, you be mindful. You hope for the best and you prepare for the worst.
Yeah, I can support that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because let me tell you something. Because I had bad experiences with Dominican women. Doesn't mean that all Dominican women are bad, though.
I don't know, man. Those Dominican women, there's something else though, right?
Well, okay, you know what? I don't want to paint all of them because basically,
I'll say, nah, they're good people. Well, you know, they're good women. I don't really know them that well. I know of them. You know what's funny is that there's a show that kind of points to how, you know, what is that? It was a reality show I was watching, and they had it was from the Dominican Republic, because there was this guy dating a woman in the Dominican Republic. She was a little firecracker though, man. She was a little fiery, bro. She was a little fiery. So, but we know all of them aren't like that, because then they had other women that were kind of like, you know, regular chill and everything else. But I look at it like this. Look, there are certain types of women in all racial groups, man. All of them have the same. We got the firecrackers, right? We got the Jezebels. We got the women who are very conservative. We got the women who are basically, you know, we got the domestic women. Like, we got them in our group too, man. The difference is how many of them do you have versus somebody else, right?
Yeah, I hear you.
What's the numbers?
Hey y'all. Hi Kevin.
Hey.
Good to talk
Howdy.
to you.
Oh, hey.
Good
Hey, once again,
evening.
Kevin.
Hey, y'all.
Good
Good.
evening.
One day later.
Hey.
Yeah, hey.
Magic. One of
Hey,
these days,
what's up, man? Yeah.
Magic. One of these days, we're gonna have a little private talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll call you sometime. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the only thing that's the issue. It's not that Black people don't want to work with anybody else or want to trust anybody else. It's just, man, when you look at
Kevin.
it over the long haul, it's just very difficult, because it's hard to enforce anything. And then you got, and it happens to you guys too. I mean, I've seen instances where you guys get the short end of the stick too. I mean, I know what happens in Puerto Rico. You know, I'm not from there, but I look at the news. I see what's going on over there. You guys get the short end of the stick too. You know, over there, especially. That's one of the reasons that anybody here from Puerto Rico? Well, you Puerto Rican, right, Jose?
Yeah, but I was born in the mainland, so I considered a Nuyorican.
Yeah. But see, so they have there's a lot of turmoil within the government, and then there's stuff that the United States does that's not fair to Puerto Ricans over there on the islands, right? And I mean, there's some other things that happen too.
Kevin, I got a question for you. Kevin. So do you think that there's mistrust among, like, in the Black community with each other? Because I know a lot of people have expressed distrust amongst, like, biracial mulatto people. They don't even trust us, you know, and we're half Black. And we, you know, so there's a lot of mistrust between, like, mulatto and mixed people, because so many, I've heard, you know, it's coming from the pro-Black community, and it's not only women. It was coming from men that were very pro-Black, saying that, oh, if a mulatto class rise up, you know, they're going to want to destroy Black people. There's like a mistrust amongst, like, that's why I think so many people are fighting against, like, oh, we don't really want, like on the action we did, he was saying you're going to divide the Black community, and then so there's a lot of mistrust amongst us, even biracial people, mixed people in Black communities. So
it's like I was telling you the other day, right? You guys are caught in a war between white people and Black people, and you're in a proxy war that you're in a proxy war that you don't know you're a part of.
No, we know very well. We see it very no. We know. We know.
Okay, yeah. So white folks will play you guys against Black folks who, like, dark-skinned Black folks, like that whole house Negro, field Negro thing never went away.
Both sides try to weaponize us against the other side. We see it on both sides.
Absolutely. And you guys are more accepted with white folks, so then Black people see that, and they're like, well, darker-skinned Black people see that, and they get upset about it. They're like, well, why are you siding with them and you're Black anyway? You're supposed to be using your Blackness to help us. And interestingly enough, like somebody said, I think it was Georgia or somebody put it in the chat. I remember they wrote it. They wrote Adam Clayton Powell, Thurgood Marshall, Lena Horne, Harry Belafonte. They were all light-skinned,
along with like
they were all light-skinned
Washington.
Biracials or mixed folks who were designated as Black. Adam Clayton Powell, when you look at him at first, you don't even know he's Black. He went the first part of when he was in college, nobody really knew he was Black. He was in an HBCU, and they thought he was just like, why is this white guy here? He hit it. Matter of fact,
how do you feel? okay, this is how I feel as a biracial person. I'm like, I'm gonna sit this out. I'm gonna let black and white people fight, and I don't want to take no sides. I just want to choose my own side and just build my own community and stay out of y'all fight because it's exhausting and it's tiring and it's like,
hey man, I can almost I don't really understand it because I'm not. When you look at me, you see somebody who's phenotypically dark skinned black, so I don't have that issue. But I understand why you would be exhausted. Because, like I said, hey man, remember, we get from black immigrants that we're watered down Africans. We get that from black immigrants. Mm-hmm. We're considered as watered down Africans. I didn't know this. I knew this years back, but I didn't really understand how bad it was. Like there are black immigrants who will come from Africa, who will look at us and go, "You guys were slaves. You guys." You got that European DNA because you know how black people got DNA during black enslavement. You had the white slave owners literally sexually violating the women and the girls, and they producing babies. So I probably got about anywhere from 15 to 20%, European DNA. Now I'm not white.
Most African Americans do, on average, have like 15 to 20%.
15 to 20%, absolutely. That's why we're so doggone light. So when I'm standing next to an African, they're looking at me like, you ain't no real African. You're a watered down version of
us. You know how we're considered black in America because of the ones
understand how you guys feel.
When we go to Africa, we'll be looked at as white. So it's like
exactly that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
you might even get specialized treatment because you're so light though. That's the other part of it too. So and keep in mind, even today, that there are biracials and mixed folks who are more acceptable to white people, so they're more willing to work with you guys than they are with somebody like me. They see, especially black men, and especially as a woman, especially if you're a light-skinned black woman and you're cute too. Oh, they love you. Yeah, the white folks love that. They're like, oh, you
so
I
do also want to say something also in regards to that. And by the way, Kevin, it's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Likewise, Jordan. Likewise, man.
Yeah, because I do know that the very first time where we exchanged words, we talked a little bit about Chancellor Williams and what his perception is on those like me and Matt.
Georgia, how you doing?
Hey, bro. Hey, Don. It's going very well. So, we know that in Chancellor, he talks about how. Wait, what? All right, anyways, so we know that in his book, like the destruction of black civilization, he talks about like those like me and Magic are basically like these racial interlopers who really cannot be trusted.
Yeah.
So I'm also on the sentiment that it's probably best for us to sort out our own fight because it is exhausting, because more importantly, it starts with working on our individual selves and then our own collective before branching out into other collectives. Because it kind of starts with like self-love before we can ever be able to actually truly form any kind of like alliance or unity, though, which is what like radical Latino proposes.
Yeah.
So it's pretty exhausting though if we're really trying to just jump straight into like the mindset of alliance and unity when a lot of us are either on the internet just to like trauma bond or just to like jump right into something without really checking ourselves first and along with our own
what
people.
I see a lot in biracial spaces too, since 99% of biracial people, like you said, we have to participate in blackness in order to be accepted. It's like we have to prove our blackness, and so many biracial people, they went hard and they became super pro-black and they went hard, but they felt a sense of rejection, like it's never good enough or something to ever really be truly accepted, right? And so I do see a lot of anger and hurt towards the black community for not, it's like they did everything, like, oh, we did everything you guys wanted us to do, and it's still, we're not good enough, we're still not accepted, we're still not respected in our community. And this is what I'm saying, this is why we need our own communities, Kevin. Because
I see your point. I understand the mental strain that it will take when you
it's not healthy, like, because like me and you, Kev, we agreed that like it's not healthy for us to be like a talking or a token mouthpiece for one another, because that in itself is just pretty terrible. We actually have to first play the central roles in being a token mouthpiece for our own communities before we can ever remotely think about doing that for others. Because too many of my people have the whole saviors or messiah complex going on, and that's just going to end up backfiring big time.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the book, what was it? Destruction of Civilization.
Yeah.
What is it?
Chancellor Williams' book.
Chancellor Williams. Yeah. I actually have it right here on my shelf. It's right here. Destruction of Black Civilization, Chancellor Williams. I got quite a few. I got stuff from Dr. Welsing. I can't say his name, Giacominano. Giacominano. I always mess his name up. I got stuff from. This is my whole section over here on the Black Panther Party. Stuff from Frantz Fanon. How Europe underdeveloped Africa, stuff from Dr. Amos Wilson. This is like a summary collection. Of course, I have most of my books in the States, right? So what I do is the books that I really want to be able to reference right away, I'll buy like 2 or 3 copies, and then I'll bring one here with me, whenever I travel back and forth to the States.
Where do you live? Where do you live, Kevin? Where are you at right now?
I'm down in Honduras right now.
Oh, cool. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. But I got most of my books. I got like hundreds of books, probably like several thousand at this point. So I got a small collection right here in my office. So the one,
Spanish?
Yeah, claro.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's awesome. See, that's awesome. See, I think that we should become bilingual because America is going to become, more bilingual, and a lot of other countries in the world.
Spanish is useful in America. Some of the other languages, depending on where you are. But you can speak Spanish almost anywhere, especially when you go out west. Spanish of New York, Florida, out west.
Everywhere.
Now, if you speak Chinese, you got to literally be in like Chinatown somewhere, right? You got to be in like Little China. But I mean, or in like a Chinese community. But for the most part, you can speak Spanish and sometimes French almost anywhere in the United States. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, some of the books that you were talking about, I got quite a few. So I like to reference them, and then I haven't read all of them, but I do like pull them out when I do my studies. I'm like, oh man, I gotta read that somewhere. I remember I read something. I'll be like, okay, let me look at that and kind of go to that and kind of get some information. But eventually, I will get through all of them. And this is just one side. I got books on the other side too. So I just, as a matter of fact, I just bought another shelf to put more books put more books in my office. So when I go back and forth to the States, I try to buy as many books as I can that I think I need for immediate reference right away.
So let's focus on how do we rebuild trust between, we want to be allies to the Black community, and if you want to be out, how do we? I think it has to start small. It has to start with something.
Oh, it has to start small. You're absolutely right.
It can't be a big thing and then you get fucked. No, it has to start it got to be increments. You got to trust. You got to start small, and then you got to go up. It got to be increments. So you don't feel like
here's part of the problem. Here's part of the problem. People are going to always expect. So here, part of the problem with you guys being biracial, and it's not a problem that you guys are biracial. It's that people always go back to the history. All right.
Yes.
During the Haitian Revolution. So the problem is that how biracials are used in society against the rest of the group.
That's what we don't want. We don't want to be used no more. We don't want that.
But you have people who believe that, and some people who actually see it. And then unfortunately, there are some biracials who actually do what it is that do things against the group. So people see that and they go, "Oh, you biracial." It's that one thing. It's that thing with a small handful of biracials who will side with white people and do things that benefit white people and that's negative toward Black people. But they will use that to paint all you biracials as like traitors, and that's not the right thing to do. Like right now, so there's a young lady right now. Her name's Amala Ekwinobi. All right, she's got your skin tone. She's obviously biracial, right?
The PragerU girl, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'm in her Discord. Yeah, I'm in her Discord. I watch her videos.
Yeah,
yeah, but she's terrible though. She's
like conservative-ish.
Well, here's what she does. Here's what she does. She's a light-skinned Candace Owens. Like she tells the truth. She actually does the studies. She knows the information. She understands the history, and she tells the truth 50% of the time. The problem is that she distorts it in a way that's accepting to white people, so that way they don't feel bad. That's the problem I have with her.
Oh, I haven't seen her talk on racial issues. I only seen her talk on.
Oh man, she's.
I don't really mind her being conservative though, but long story short, she's a part of a pretty large network, and comes with all those kinds of networks, whether they are left leaning or right leaning, they're always going to have their hidden agendas.
That's the agenda, and they're using her. They're using her to accomplish their agenda, and I see it. I see it. I don't like it when Candace Owens does it. Candace Owens is dark skin. I don't like when she does it. So it's not. It has nothing to do with her skin tone or the fact that or it's just that she's a Black woman being used by a university or that Prager Foundation to advance their agenda. And actually, so what they do is they promote Black pathology. Now, they talk about Black pathology. They don't go to the root causes of why it exists, right? Or what the reasons are
They
behind
leave
it.
out half of the story, basically.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's usually what like both sides end up doing, though, just for the
They
sake
both
of
do
like
that. We see it on
political
both sides,
agendas and
on
also like for
liberals
clout
and
too.
conservatives. You know,
Yeah,
they
so
both
both
leave out
sides
half
of the
the
aisles
story.
do it.
interestingly enough, I'm pretty conservative. By the way, most Black men are conservatives. Most Black men are
Oh,
conservative. I don't know.
bro,
Most Black men are
I'm
conservatives.
moderately
A
conservative,
lot
by
of
the
the
way, on
women
a
are
lot
either
of
liberals or
issues
progressives.
myself.
But most Black men are conservative. That's why when you have a Black man who's married to a woman, usually the woman follows her husband's lead. Even if she's a liberal, and they might vote differently. She'd be like, "Hey, look, you know, I'm in your house. I'll kind of deal with you in your conservative ways or whatever."
Yeah, they'll
So that's
adopt.
why, it's just easier if you're a black conservative male. It's easier to be with a Black conservative woman, right? Or you will see a lot of Black conservative males with white women. That's another problem that we have. So it's almost like an automatic thing. Like, oh, you're a Black conservative. Shit, where's your white wife? And interestingly enough, Van Jones, right? Who's Van Jones? Who's that dude on the Supreme Court? Clarence Thomas. Not only is Clarence Thomas a Black conservative, he's also a traitor to his group, right? See, to me, it's not about skin tone; it's about the behavior, right?
Yeah.
So that's why So basically, that's why I say Amala is basically a light-skinned Candace Owens. Candace Owens tells the truth 50% of the time. She will distort it though, and actually go right into Black pathology. And I'm like, stop it with the freaking Black
I don't like
pathology.
Candace Owens. I really don't. I feel like, it's just
she's a grifter.
Yeah,
we already know that
like
she's
and
just
I understand what she's doing.
She's
and
a
I know why
grifter.
she
She's
does
just
it.
getting paid to do what she does.
Exactly. She's fulfilling an agenda. She's fulfilling an agenda as well. So
what do you think
the problem is that people see people like Amala, and they translate that to you, Malata. They go, wait a minute. Oh, so all you biracials are like that? I'm like, no.
Yep.
You got to look at the behavior, and look at how people behave within it. Because I know we got biracials in my family. I don't have any issue with them. They're good people. Now their thing is they're not necessarily they're middle of the road, meaning that they're not necessarily pro-Black, but they're not, but they definitely understand that they're Black, and they're not, anti-Black or self-hate and all that other stuff.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Like middle
I'm
of the
just
road
Black,
kind
man.
of thing.
Don't come to me with no bullshit. I'm just Black. I'm just, don't bother me with I don't want to hear about no biracial, this, that, and the third, or light skin, dark skin stuff. So the issue with the struggle that the light skin men have is that you guys are seen as different and apart from the dark skinned men. We're the darker your skin, you're seen as more of a threat. And this is why I say that, biracials and mixed folks who are actually Black, who identify as Black and internalize Blackness, they can actually be a bridge between all these racial groups, because people are more, it's almost like you guys can get in the door first and then bring the rest of everybody else in. The problem is that we got to unfuck the problems within our own group.
That's what that's what caused a lot of issues though in the past. You know how back in the day they used to send like the light skinned groups to colleges, right? Because they would think, the light skinned people will get in the door, and then they'll they'll bring all the information back to the Black community or whatever. But that caused a lot of issues, because that's like, that's colorism right there, because you're putting the light skinned people, they're getting more opportunities. But
but you guys, I look at it like this though, but you guys didn't create the colorism situation. Who created it? Because that, again, the system was set up so that way biracials and lighter skinned folks were more acceptable to white people. So you would basically use as a buffer group between dark skinned Black people, dark skinned Negroes, and white folks. So you guys were the buffer. And
that's true.
And so they're like, look, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with Kevin, but I'll deal with Jar Jar, right? Or Jar Jar, right? I don't want to deal with Kevin, but I'll deal with Jar Jar. So everything that I need kind of goes through Jar Jar. So I got to trust him to do all the right things as it relates to what we're trying to get done. I got to trust him implicitly, because they don't want to talk to me. They're like, nah, I don't want to talk to that dark skinned dude, but I'll talk to Jar Jar.
You want to know something though? Like, although like everything that you're stating, Kevin, that is 100% spot on.
Yeah.
But the problem is with like a lot of white people is that, yes, they would want to probably come to me first. They may even pay me to basically get me to bootlick them. But once they're done with their agendas, they're just basically going to start seeing me as somebody who's expendable, because deep down in there, they think that I'm already tainted. Meets those such as like me and Magic. So like
exactly, and that's why
they will just basically, yes, use us, say that, okay, you're closer to us, you have our blood in us, you're probably just a bit better than probably like somebody like Kevin. But long story short, I wouldn't want you dating my daughter.
Yeah,
but the problem is too, we get used on both sides, you know, and it's always about the other group. It's never like, hey, what do biracial people need? What are their needs? What's going to help them? We never get that ever from nobody.
Here's the challenge for you guys. Is that so we know that you're black. We know that you're black, and you identify with your blackness and all the other stuff. Is that however years you guys do it, and it's fucked up because white people put y'all in a difficult position. That's why. But it's you know, however you guys do it to the best of your ability. If you're being used, you got to figure out a way to be used to the betterment of the black collective versus because what some biracials will do is they will literally use their whiteness to benefit themselves and themselves only. And they will say, fuck the rest of the group.
This is what we're saying. It's always one-sided. It's like, do black people ever think how they're gonna better the biracial collective? Do they ever think about that? Like nobody ever thinks about how it's always a one-sided, just how you say. That's what, but just like how you guys say, it's like, oh yeah, we put in a lot of work for you guys, but we don't get really anything in return. It's like, yo, we want to have a positive allyship because we're totally willing to go hard.
Now, when you do all that work though, don't you get the benefits of because don't you get the? I look at it like this: when you're doing all of that stuff, you're supposed to get the benefits of what the black collective gets, right? Whatever that is, you might get a little bit more because you might get a little bit more because you're closer to white folks as far as a phenotype.
No, we don't really have anything that the black community have. But look, this is what you guys have. You guys actually have like a real. This is what you guys have that we don't have. You guys have actually a real community for yourselves. You guys could relate to each because we can't come to y'all and talk about biracial problems because it's like, well, we can't really relate to that. So that's not really my problem. That's not really my fight, right? So that's why we got to go to other biracial people. But it's like the problem is we've been putting all our energy into these other communities, but we don't have any energy for our own community. So we could actually build. And I want to address Marquise. I was going to make a video response to him because what he was saying about, if a biracial community that's dividing the black community. But here's my response to that. It's not because most biracial people at the end of the day, they're going to identify as black and be part of the black community and not really. But the biracial people who do, it's a small minority because we're a small group anyway. There's so many more black people than biracial people. There's so many more black people. And it's nothing wrong with trying to build a community that relate to each other. Just like me and Georgia, like we can relate to a lot of things with each other that black monoracial people cannot understand their experiences. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's all we're trying to do is not trying to, you know how some people say, we're trying to plot against this community or that community or try to go against. No, it's nothing about that. There's no intentions or nothing. So I don't think it's dividing the black community whatsoever. So
yeah. I mean, so let me ask you something though, because I hear all the stuff that the women say. I hear all the stuff that the women say. Like, so Georgia and I, we can get along, right? Because men are a whole lot different than women. You guys got other issues that you guys got to deal with.
Definitely.
Men are like, look.
Women are different. We have different issues.
Men generally have more camaraderie when it comes to like, look, this is your issue. This is my issue. I'm not really worried about how light or dark skinned you are, but we got issues as black men, and we unify based off of that. That's why I can look at Joe and I'm like, okay, hey, he's a cool brother, man. He's cool. He's straight. As long as we're like-minded and we're going in the same direction, your skin tone is immaterial to me. As long as you don't betray me. And there's another dude. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's kind of controversial, man. He's running around the YouTube sphere. He's a bit controversial. Patriarchy. You ever hear Patriarchy?
I gotta go look him up.
Patriarchy Strikes Back.
Ron, can you bring up?
He's a controversial biracial man. He's biracial, but he's very controversial, and he gives off that whole. I like black people, but I only like certain black people, and if you come at me wrong, so here it looks. I'm gonna tell you what it looks like he's done because I actually talked to him about it. I said, dude, you get upset if somebody says something that you think is insulting to you. He attacks them immediately. He goes on the defensive. He starts, calling names. Like he's very racial about it too. Like he starts like saying real mean shit, stuff that I would never say. Like I don't call people names. Even if I got names for you and I know what they are, I don't call you names. I attack your talking points. I fuck with you.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy people who take things personal, and then they don't want to attack the talking points, but they take things personal and just start throwing. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy people on YouTube for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I attack the talking points and not the person. He will go in. He will start calling them porch monkeys and just apes. And I'm like, dude, you're black, man. What are you doing? Like you're a black dude, right? Why are you calling names and shit? Why are you being so mean? And then the other guy will. And then it's usually dark skinned now too. And then they start going back and forth, and then it just devolves into like this name calling. Basically, Negro. Basically, you know. And I know you got virgin ears there, Jose, but basically nigga shit. Right, that's what it devolves into, nigga shit, and I hate seeing that because I'm like, how do you guys get on a damn get into the discussion? And I've seen and it's not just online. I've seen it in real life too. I've seen it in real life. I've seen the light skinned dudes go with the dark skinned dudes, and there's always one or two guys who are like they got this irrational mindset and behavior in the way that they approach things when they're fucked up. They know they're fucked up, but they still behave that way anyway because they're black. So we can't really fuck with them that way. Like, okay, he's still black. We can't fuck with him.
There's a lot of fucked up biracial people. There's a lot of fucked up black people. There's a lot of fucked up white people.
Not being black, but at the same time, he's behaving in a problematic way. There's another.
So, Juan, do you think you would support like biracial people having their own? So you just support that, or what's your stance on that? Do you think we should just all stay within the black community, or you think we should all, would you support? Because there's a lot of black people who support this. Because they're like, you know what, you're not black. We don't see you as black. So it's good you're building your own spaces. I hear that a lot. So what's your stance on that?
Have you seen that dude Angry Biracial? Have you seen him?
Yes, I've seen too.
Okay,
yeah. But go ahead and answer the question. I don't want to step over you.
But if I can just cut in, first of all, you see, one thing that me and Jojo share in common, we're both born again Christians. The difference, the difference is like if people use colorful language, okay,
yeah.
I don't get easily offended, and the people that got on my platform, they know I don't censor, and basically half the time people that censor themselves. I mean, look, as long as we're both mutually respectable, I mean, you can say whatever bleep you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, so let me ask you this, Mulata. Let me ask you this real quick though, because
hold on. Wait, I really want you to answer the question. Do you actually what is your stance on
you were talking to me?
Yeah, I was talking to you. Like, what's your stance on like biracial people having a community? Do you think we should all stay in the black community, or do you support us having our own little community? What's your stance on that?
This is my mind. This is my mind looking at the bigger picture. I agree that you guys need to have a enclave of some kind of community of some sort, but at the same time maintain a friendly relation with the black collective.
Absolutely.
Because
agreed.
we still see you as part of the black collective. The issue is that we have to weed. So it's up to us as darker skinned folks to weed out and actually hard check and correct the people who have the negative opinions about how biracials are perceived.
See, I would absolutely adore that because I don't see nobody checking it. Because it's
one of the other things that can happen is when you have people in your that are part of the mulatto class, they get out of line. It's actually helpful if you deal with them versus we do, because it looks like we're attacking you, right?
I love that. No, I'm in agreement with that.
Like
because we would love to see that happen more in the black community.
We're just correcting,
so socially acceptable. Like that's our issue, that we see people talking crazy like about light skinned and biracial people like it's nothing, like nobody cares, like it's not checked, it's just rampant, right?
Yeah.
And so I would love to see more people would be like, hey, that's not okay. Like let's not talk like that. Just like I would check people trying to disparage people who are darker skinned or black. I'm like, hey, that's not okay. It's not okay to be anti-black. It's not okay. I do the same thing. I think I just want it to be mutual. Like, hey, it's not okay.
Like I told you,
absolutely though, because like we have like.
I said, dude, you're black. Why do you talk to black people the way you do? And do you even like black people? I said, you're black, you're light skinned, I get it, but the way I said the way you talk about black people sometimes, it's like you really come off anti-black, like you don't even like black people. I literally asked him straight up, I said, do you even like black people? He's like, yeah, but I hate niggas though. I'm like, oh, it's okay. And you know what? And I understand a little bit what he was talking about. So he's talking about the behavior, and I get that. But the thing is that he invites that behavior because he provokes certain responses out of people. So he's problematic in his own special way. And I'm like, dude, but you understand that you're actually part of the problem when you do that. And I try to give him all kinds of advice or whatever. And you know what? I saw him later on doing the exact same thing. So he's just one of those guys.
All right, Kevin, I got another question for you.
If you guys had that community that you're talking about, where biracials and mixed folks doing their thing, and then you guys check each other more, and then we deal with the darker skinned folks, and make sure that we don't have that what you call it, those misunderstandings that actually create turmoil within our own community, because we're all black here. All of us are black. It's just different shades of it. But the thing is that we can't have people, darker skinned folks, just hating on light skinned folks just to hate on.
I agree.
Especially when you haven't done anything. Yeah, I agree. Especially when you haven't done anything. 100%. Like, hey man, and let me ask you this, Mulata. I know this happens with you as a woman a lot, because I see it. Is that the darker skinned women will be mad at you just because you showed up. And the crazy thing is, everybody loves a light skinned baby when it's a baby, right? But as soon as a nice looking, light skinned woman walks in the room, all of a sudden all the dark skinned women are like, oh, here we go.
Well, all of them are insecure though. I think dark skinned women are very beautiful. I think they're gorgeous. I think they have like
they are, yeah. Now
they're absolutely gorgeous, and I've seen so many beautiful dark skinned black women, and I don't feel like they have any reason to be insecure whatsoever, to be honest.
Well, their insecurity. Here's what I see. I'm gonna tell you what I see. All right, it's not that they're insecure because you're biracial or lighter skin, or people think
it's because of the men. I think it's because of the men.
They got other things going on that's preventing them from actually getting. They got other things going on. I'm gonna tell you right now. If a dark skinned black woman showed up and she's got a banging body with a pretty face, then she's just as good as any other woman of any race. Like men are very funny in the sense that we gravitate towards our natural counterpart.
That's how I feel.
But hey, if we see if I see a light skin, if I see a mestizo looking Latina and she's banging hot, I'm like, oh damn, she's bad as hell, right? Or if I see a dark skinned black woman, I'm like, damn, she's bad as hell. She is smoking. Or even if I see a white woman, I'm not real into it. But if she's pretty, I'm like, oh, that's a pretty white woman. Now, that don't mean I want her, but I'm just saying, okay, she's pretty for that time being. I've acknowledged her beauty and whatever. And my whole thing is that a lot of times it's not because you're light skinned, it's because you got other things going on. Like, for example, that woman may be dark skinned, and then a light skinned woman shows up and she's fit and in shape and pretty with a nice body, flat stomach. Well, that dark skinned woman, she's got a couple of pounds on her, right? But she's blaming it on the fact that woman's light skinned. No, it's not. That's not it. It's you might be in shape, the other woman might be out of shape, but instead of actually.
No, I used to work in a bar in Atlanta.
Well, no, but see, but that's what I'm saying though. Like women have to look at the big picture.
Look, I was never raised with this mindset.
What's that? You never raised with what?
I think she said raising mindset. Is that what you said?
Yeah, but I'm just telling you. Look, this is just my observations and what I see. It's not because you're light skinned. It's because, women's light skinned because there are light skinned women that are overweight. I'm just saying that there might be 3 or 4 women in a room.
Sorry, but I do think that.
And then a light skinned woman shows up, and if she's young and pretty, they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, here's that light skin."
No, listen, I wasn't raised with that mindset.
Yeah, are you breaking up?
Magic, I think you're also breaking up too, because I can't even hear her.
Yeah, I think it's like the technical difficulties.
Yeah, but I mean, it's you guys have a much more interesting and difficult dynamic amongst the women. Like black men can get along generally as long as nobody's doing anything traitorous. Like we don't care if you're light skinned or dark skinned, it don't matter. Like shit, we have our own problems with the damn dark skinned pooches and rayways. God damn it. Like they're fucking it up for us.
Because yeah, usually man, like, and also like going back to like even like checking our own though. I mean, like what I was also about to get in there and say is that, Kevin, is that we even do have like some like racist and supremacist types even among our circles too. Yeah, but then that's just where those such as like me and Magic are just stepping up and using our platforms to say that no, guys, that's actually is not really what we're about. That's not what we really want our platforms based around.
That's crazy.
Because we're actually trying to build like a healthy level of trust so that we can ultimately strive for that unity. Yeah. But you can't do that if you actually have some assholes who have supremacist mindsets or actually some anti-black sentiments. No.
Hey man, I'm gonna tell you, I've seen
really
it.
What we're doing.
I've seen it with you know, people who are light skinned, like biracials. Like I've seen the supremacist mindset. Like I said, I literally had to, and I don't do it very often because I know being biracial is a very sensitive topic. So it's almost you tread lightly. That's the other thing too. People don't want to offend you, so we try to tread lightly as to not offend you and accuse you of anything. But then at the same time, try to give you like a nice correction. So we don't.
I wanted to
you
talk
know
about
something
that.
that's actually is fine.
Which is fucked up because I should be able to go, look, man, you're fucking up. Like if he was dark skinned, I just dig into his ass, right?
Hey, listen,
yeah, bro. Like honestly, man. Like if anything that I also want for my hold on, Magic. Let me get this out really quickly, Magic. What I ultimately want for my people is that we need to develop thicker skin, and we need to also stop being so hypersensitive. And we may actually have to accept the fact that hey, some people are going to come off at us as the wrong way. But that's ultimately where we need to develop that thick skin, though, because this world is not going to tiptoe around us. So that's up to us to take responsibility for whatever our own triggers are or our own traumas and address them the correct way so that we can actually be as robust as we are working for.
Absolutely.
Like I said,
I feel like I have a thick skin.
I don't see it as much with the men as probably as it might be with the women. So
no, I don't have a problem.
I don't try to deal with the women too much. And like I said, it's really easier. I see it as it's easier for men to get along as long as they're part of the same group, regardless of their skin tone. Again, as long as somebody in there is not conducting traitorous behavior. But again, remember, we have our dark skin who are traitors too. I could call them out. Shit, I don't. Larry Elder, he's another one who's like a good dude, but at the same time, he does like traitorous like shit. Who's another one? I don't like Tommy Sotomayor. He's a problem. He's dark skinned as hell.
Oh yeah, I used to watch Tommy Sotomayor back in the day. That dude was like ramming on too much about black women. This and like not only that, but he really went on the deep end too, though, because now he's even saying the hard R too. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, he's trying to give a correction, but he's doing it. He's not doing it in the right way. There's a better way for him to actually identify problems, point to issues, and give solutions. But he does it in a way that's completely insulting that turns people off.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly him in I used to also watch Jesse Lee Peterson too. So
yeah, he's a problem. He's a problem. Jesse Lee Peterson didn't used to be that way. He used to actually, Jesse Lee Peterson as an activist. Did you know that?
Wow.
Yeah, he started off as an activist, and then he saw there was more money. He saw that there was more money in actually behaving the way he behaves now. Damn, who's another one? And then we have people. We have dark skinned politicians that I just have a problem with them. I got a problem with Jamal Bowman. I got a problem with him. And then Cory Booker. Cory Booker's a light skin. Now he's not. He's a good dude. The problem with him is that he's not traitorous, but he's completely ineffective as a black politician. He does not represent his constituents very well. He has produced nothing. He hasn't done anything to help his people, but he's always up there talking about black. I got to do this. Got to do that. Whatever. And he doesn't produce anything.
Well, most politicians are just in it for self-aggrandizement.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't even expect that from Cory or any one of those talking heads up there in the political arena.
But you see, people look at him and they go, "Oh, see," they see and I know you heard the phrase light skin shit, right? But people look at him and they go, "Oh, he's on some light skin shit because he didn't do what he should have done, even though he's running around here talking about black." So people look at him as using his position, using his blackness to benefit himself, and elevate himself so that way he can, get his little accolades, benefits, money, and everything else, and just fuck everybody else. So and that gets passed down to you, Giorgio, right?
Essentially, so.
That's where you suffer. You're like, hey, dude, I ain't anything like that. I'm with the group, man.
I'm far from exactly.
Yeah, I'm far from that. But people are looking, and that's what I'm saying. So people have to learn how to focus on behavior versus demonizing the group or demonizing a particular
looking
class
at the individual and calling out the behavior and be like, oh, all these people are like, I totally agree with that. I'm 100%. So I got a question for you, Kevin. So, us as biracial people, I think we see both sides of things and we see like what's wrong in like both communities, whatever, because we're kind of like a fly on the wall in like both communities. We're not really fully like, we're like not fully in each one, but we're kind of like, we just notice and observe things. So, we criticize the white community and we criticize the black community. But I think that a lot of people take criticism as racism. So how would you think would be the best way to go about like criticizing something out of a place of love because you want better for the community? And, I think it's about understanding the root of causes and stuff too. And focusing on the behavior, like you said, because that's something that we do. We criticize both sides, but I feel like, a lot of people take criticism as racism when it's not.
The only thing I do is I focus on the behavior. So I always look at the behavior, right? Now, sometimes the behavior is actually related to racism. That two things can be true, right? You can have problematic behavior and it could be related to something that you're doing racially that's incorrect or something that you shouldn't be doing and it's based on race. So again, I'll use Amala Ekwinobi. Like you said, you know her, right? You know of her?
I just discovered her, and I just described her because I was talking about.
Of course.
If you listen to her, she sounds good. She sounds good on the way that she speaks. If you're white, but if you're like me and you understand Black issues, Black history, and real Black culture, and you understand that you got to get to the root of the issue, then she's being disingenuous, and that's my problem with her. It has nothing to do with her being like I have the same problem with her that I do with Candace Owens, a dark-skinned Black woman. They both do the same thing. They're just different skin tones. And I would say now, here's the one thing I would say. Amala is a little bit lighter in her approach, meaning that she's not as bad as Candace Owens. That's the difference. And I believe that Candace Owens behaves the way that she does because she's darker skinned. Because she's like, look, I'm Black. I am qualified to speak on this. And I'm like, no, the fuck you ain't, because you're being traitorous in your speech and tone and your delivery, and you're misrepresenting the most important part of what you should be saying versus what you're really saying. Like, you couldn't have me standing next to Candace Owens. Like, she needs a damn interpreter, right? And the thing about it is, Owens knows exactly what she's doing when she does what she does. You couldn't have me and Candace Owens in the same room and have her say something and then not me come right behind her and go be like, okay, now I'm going to tell you where you fucked up. Like, I could do that with her, like standing right there next to her. She'll sit there in an audience full of white people and say, Black pathology, and all the white people start clapping. Then I'll go up there and be like, all right, now, white folks, let me tell you where she was wrong on such and such. By the time I get done, the white folks gonna be mad at me. They're like, wait a minute, but this other Black person just said, yeah, but she's wrong though. And you know that she's wrong because she's catering and pandering to you.
Exactly. That's why I feel like me personally, I just like the whole pro-white or pro-Black mindset. It doesn't help anything because it's always missing. Like, I think that when you,
what do you think is missing?
I think it's missing. It's always okay. If I come at something like an agenda, an issue, anything, and I have like a pro-white mindset, I'm always gonna paint white people as like this certain way. Or if I have a pro-Black, I'm always gonna paint Black people instead. That's the problem with narratives. It's always just like trying to paint a picture of this instead of just being neutral and just stating the facts of things. That's why I think it's best to just stay neutral and just state the facts of just what's going on instead of like trying to paint a picture of whatever, you know what I'm saying? Of always trying to make this community look good or make this community look bad or make this, you know what I'm saying? So it's always, I just like being neutral about things and just seeing things for what it is instead of,
more importantly, balance is key though, but Candace just doesn't really have that balance.
Is looking good or looking bad, but we have to be honest about this. Is the one thing
I'm saying. I'm all about being honest about
Denise and I disagree on a lot. We kind of argue back and forth, but we do have to be honest about where we are in our communities and what's wrong
Exactly.
with these are.
Exactly.
Amen.
I'm all about being honest. But a lot
We
of
do
people
have
can't.
some internal things that we need to
We
work
have
on.
to be thick-skinned. Like we have to be. We do have to be very. Because that's the problem. Like so many people like want to avoid issues because there's a lot of trauma and wounds there, and it's a lot of unhealed issues and stuff. And it's but we have to learn how to really communicate. Like, communication is key to healing in a way of like being able to talk through things and like, hey, this is what happened. You know, let's talk about it. Let's see why it happened, and how we could move on from it. You know, having these important conversations and not be stuck and stagnant and being like, hey, this is we're just going on a loopy loop of just like, you know, keep doing the same thing over and over and over instead of trying to like come together and be solution oriented, right? So
I can almost feel the mental strain that, you know, it puts on that black people put on you guys, and sometimes white folks put on you guys. I know I can almost feel the mental strain, and the reason I can relate to it is that I have a different, and I'm not trying to take the, you know, the point away from what it is you guys are talking about, is that I feel the mental strain as a dark-skinned black man moving around in the United States of America. Like, I feel the fucking mental strain. But I'm gonna tell you the difference. When I go to another country, so it's fucked up. But I'm gonna tell you, you know, just kind of how messed up it is. So when you're in the United States and you hear you're trying to determine, is that a police siren or is it a emergency siren, right? And then you're wondering, okay, all these fuckers after me, and what happened, and what did I do? Is all my shit right? Is my paperwork right? Is my license right, and everything else? Where am I fucked up, or was I speeding or something? And then even if you do get stopped, then you don't know how that's going to play out. You know that might not play out in your favor. But now when I go to another country and I hear emergency equipment, you know, like the sirens or whatever, it's by the way, rarely the police have their sirens on around here. It's generally an emergency vehicle. And honestly, when the police put their emergency sirens right on, you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to get through traffic. They're not stopping anybody. So it's a whole different feeling. When I first I remember I was in the United States for a long time, and it was a heightened tension. Remember all that stuff during George Floyd, 2020, 2021, all that other stuff? It was kind of like a buildup. And I came back here. I came back to Central America, right? And I heard a siren. I am not gonna lie, my fucking heart skipped a beat. I was like, "Fuck, what the hell?" Then I remembered, okay, I'm in another country, right? Like, there's some level of trauma. They call it. Somebody he called it post-traumatic police disorder. He actually had a name for it. There's this guy.
Oh yeah, I
suffer from
that.
Yeah, there's a police officer. He was talking about that black people probably suffer from post-traumatic police disorder, and I know what he was talking about because I'm gonna tell you something. Like down here, I wave at the police. I saw them, and they run around. So what they do is they ride motorcycles. A lot of them got motorcycles. That's how they do their patrols. And then they also got the trucks and everything. They hop in the back of a pickup truck, and then they take them around to the different stations. They drop them off throughout the day, and they pick them up and they bring them food and stuff like that. I mean, you can walk up to a police officer, just talk to them, chit chat, bullshit. Hell, sometimes they show me their weapons. I'm like, oh, you know, I'll start talking about the weapons. I'm like, oh, that's a so-and-so, 9mm, 45, whatever. They're like, oh, really? You know about weapons? I'm like, yeah. Here, let me show you this and that. They'll clear it, right? I say, yeah, go ahead and clear it. I say, go ahead and clear it. Let me show you this part, whatever. They're like, they're amazed that I know these fucking weapons, right? But I was in the military, so I know all of this stuff, right?
So you don't have to worry about police brutality over there.
No, they don't do that now. Do the police mistreat people? Absolutely. But they're very specific about it. Mm-hmm. They're very specific about the people that they mistreat and the people that they cheat. Now, I'm not saying they're not corrupt. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's not this general atmosphere of police mistreatment. Like, if you're in certain cities in America, you don't know which police officer you're getting that day. Here, they're all pretty friendly. And then even, oh my goodness, and the women police officers, my goodness, oh my gosh. But anyway, you know, I gotta
get rolling now. But
hi, George. Good to talk to you.
Yes, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Jojo.
Oh, it's nice. It was a pleasure.
Likewise, man. Likewise. Yeah, I'm not gonna stay too much longer myself. It's getting late, and I always tell my wife, she saw me on the live stream. She's go, okay, you doing a live stream? And then she came in and kissed me good night, and I'm like, I'll be in bed in a few minutes. So
yeah, let's talk next.
Yeah, my wife too.
Next stream or whenever we'll have it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a real different thing. Though. It's real different.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, but Yeah, but since you guys are taking off, we can catch this up some other time. But it's good talking to you, Jose.
Yo,
George,
it was a pleasure having you on my show, Kevin.
All right, y'all have a good night. Bye, John. Bye, George. Good night.
Yeah,
good.
We went through a few different topics, didn't we, man? Huh?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
But you know something. Okay. Well, but you know something. It does make things very interesting. These topics.
Yeah. But as always, man, good talking to you, gentlemen,
does.
and we'll hit you up later. All right. Well, you guys take care.
All right. Take care.
And thank.
All right.
And this.
Okay. Well, as always, Don Armando, thank you very much for allowing me on the platform. Well, this Sunday I'm going to be doing a stream in Spanish. It'll be the last one though, because unfortunately, whenever I do a stream in Spanish, the audience is not there. So I'll send you the link. Most likely tomorrow.
All right. Well. All right. Yeah, I'm thinking about, because I actually posted like your stuff in a Parkchester group, so Spanish groups down on YouTube also. So at least you could actually get your own Spanish viewership up. So I'm going to try to help you in that, Don Jose.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And as always, it's a pleasure to talk with you. So just be safe out there. Okay. Take care.
You too. Well, folks, this was an interesting night. We got to talk to an actual veteran of the armed forces, and we actually went through different topics also. But one thing I have to say about the stream is that shout out to all the veterans who are actually currently in the armed forces or who are not in the armed forces, and rest in peace for those that made the ultimate sacrifice. So happy Veterans Day to all of y'all, and may God bless y'all.